afternoon, and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. Good to be with you. Good to be back. Thanks for tuning to it. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do, we've got you covered. All 3 hours going to be posted both on iTunes and our own audio vault every day upon the conclusion of the show. That gets posted. Go find it at your convenience and know that it is brought to you with limited commercial interruption thanks to our great sponsor, CarltonDean.com. He and the fine folks, Southland Commercial, insight into commercial real estate, ways to make money through income-producing properties. Go to CarltonDean.com. Email the show if you like. It's jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. WTSM app for mobile devices, and we're on YouTube. Go there, find us, ESPN Tallahassee. Thanks for watching. Hello, friend.
Hey, man. How you doing?
It's been a while, huh?
This is goofy. Yeah, I listened to so much, in building some best ofs last week that it feels odd to be actually doing a show.
Let me thank you and young Matthew and anybody else that was involved here at the radio station in my absence, putting together the best ofs that, from what I could see from afar in our nation's capital, was widely popular and enjoyed by many listeners. Thank you guys for putting that together. I didn't get a chance to hear it. I don't need to hear myself anymore.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, I love Jeff, and I have a phone call with him.
Hearing from Jeff every day.
I hear a lot of them, more than I do when we actually work together. But I hope the people caught on to the pattern that we closed the day, every day, when we ran best ofs with the Miami montage from last year, because it's the whole idea of Groundhog's Day.
You did you?
Oh, yeah, every day.
Boy, that is in the spirit of what I would have done. That is well done. Yes. I hope they did, too, and I'm sure they did. And it's good to be back, though, because I have to say, outside of the fact that while I was away, I came back to find out that somehow you guys allowed the University of Florida to win a national championship in baseball. I am pleased to be back, but to discover this horror upon all of us was most unsettling. Luckily, I had the fourth to kind of let it settle in and figure out how we move forward in this world. A world in which the University of Florida has a national championship in baseball.
Devastating.
A little bit. Not going to lie about that. I'm a man. I can admit when I'm stung, when I've been hurt.
Devastating.
And at the same time, I cannot fret overly about such things. There is a lot of time, hopefully, before us to even up the score. It had to have been devastating for those of you that watched these college baseball games.
Yeah, I was one of those people that watched the college baseball games.
I did, too.
And once I saw the interference called in Game 2.
From a hotel bar, I saw that and said, it is going to happen now, isn't it?
Yes, this is a definite sign, because I remember saying, I was watching with my girl, I said, even a double play here is not the end of the world, because you will trade. Typically, you don't want it ever. But in this case, an elimination game, you can tie it up, even with a double play. I'll take the double play ground ball. I'll take it all day long, and let's go battle of the bullpens. No problem.
That's right.
And then the umpire points, and he says, no, sir.
No.
Everyone's out. Everyone.
Yeah. No, that's hard to take. Tough pill to swallow. Florida's arms proved to be too much. I will say this for our Gator listeners or any non-biased observers of the sport. One thing that stands out, certainly, in watching the College World Series and removing the emotions of seeing your chief rival win a national championship, a program that's largely been the lesser, to accomplish that, it's frustrating, but it's also a testament, frankly, to their ability to consistently recruit the kind of dominant pitching that can give you opportunities to win even when you don't hit, and give you opportunities to win in seasons where you're not having your best year. This may not have been O'Sullivan's best team that he has sent out there. Oh, I shouldn't even hesitate that or qualify that. It wasn't his best team. I don't think they were the best team in the country. I would say that about Florida State if they won it too. It doesn't matter. They won the national championship. It never matters. If you win the national championship, screw whether or not over the course of 50-something games you think somebody is or isn't the best team. That's not how college baseball works. You get into the big dance, you give yourself a chance, and you go win it. And they did. And they deserve credit where credit is due. But they can only do that because they successfully recruit the kind of pitching that we cannot currently. And frankly, without it being a direct shot at us necessarily, who else is? I'm not seeing other teams possess the depth of arms that the University of Florida has in the starting rotation. And that's where they won it, and it's where they carried the day in the tournament. It's where they were able to overcome deficiencies.
Well, they're all flamethrowers, too, and that's the thing. We talk about it a lot in the Major League Baseball game, but I think there's a trickle-down effect going on right now, and that's with arm velocity and average velocity. It wasn't long ago. Even still, I think that, I thought about it this way this year, that if you see somebody get up to, 91 to 93 miles an hour as a starter on the weekend, you say, all right, we got ourselves a guy with an arm.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. No, 95, 96 is all around the country. That's one thing I will say. Florida has the depth like no one else does. I completely agree with you there.
Yeah.
But, you see the Hess kid who has stuff upon stuff, but that he hits 96, 97 miles an hour. Then you look at Oregon State staff, and there are kids who can hit 95, 96 miles an hour. Florida has like 17 of those dudes. It's real. In college baseball, that is now not something like a unicorn.
It's also quite surprising. I don't know why any of those kids, including the LSU closer, would be in college.
I agree, and it's frustrating that they are in college. But, you see 97 to 100 miles an hour out of the bullpen, and you don't bat an eyelash the way you did 5 to 10 years ago. And I think in college baseball, in the same way, now all of a sudden 92 to 95 is becoming kind of standard fare if you want to have somebody who can compete as a Friday or Saturday starter in your rotation. Otherwise, you got to find some people like a Parrish or a Holton who can work off of a mediocre fastball with excellent secondary stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go that way in college baseball anymore, and I think that was more the norm.
Well, I think that Mike Bell is a great pitching coach, and I'm going to be sad if we lose him, if he goes elsewhere, because I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he does a good job. I say that to say this, and not as a setup to knock him down a peg at all. It's recruiting, and this is also not a matter of taking shots at the coaching staff in this way, and this is what I mean. I think they're a little bit hamstrung over there, and they have been for some time, in that, we've had the discussion, when you have a legendary coach who's at the end of his career, recruits know that, and they're not sure who they're going to be playing for. And I know that Mike Martin Jr. has been very vocal, I think, to some extent, maybe even publicly, about, there was an article written in the Democrat a year ago, so this isn't like I'm talking out of school, that when he goes on these recruiting visits, and that's what he does, he's a recruiting fool. That's what he is, and he's having to go out there and, let's face it, do the work of two men, because when you have an aging coach, a legend for a coach, they're not as active in recruiting. That's just the way of the world. That's here or anywhere else. So you've got to recruit for two. I think it's got to be hard to find plus arms, dominant arms around the country to get them to commit and say yes to Florida State when they don't know who the long-term commitment is to at Florida State. I do think that there's a deficiency when you're efforting to bring in the best of the best, and your rival's right down the road. See, the problem with Florida winning the national championship, again, removing emotion from the equation, isn't so much that your rival won a national championship and you didn't. That sucks. You get over that, and within 24 hours it happens. It's that they're your rival. They're not North Carolina's. They're not, they're not even, in large part, they're not even LSU's in a way. They're our rivals. They're 2 hours away. You're asking for kids in this state and the surrounding areas to come to this school when the one who just won the title and has the reputation of developing arms is 2 hours away, and their coaching staff is in place. And that guy's going nowhere. They're investing in baseball right now. They're investing in that coach right now. They've said, we're all in, we want to win. So if you're going to combat that, you have to lay the groundwork of certainty for recruits. And you can't do that. This is, again, I don't know if it's a solvable problem other than to say, as an athletic director or a university, we're going to come out publicly and announce our plans. If you don't do that, this isn't solvable until Mike Martin, and this, don't take this the wrong way, until Mike Martin leaves, you can't solve this problem.
Or puts an end date, a finite end date.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's not so much that I'm saying he should be fired. They just went to the College World Series. They finished in the top 10. They had a great year. What I'm saying is when that uncertainty exists, you lose out on arms like that to your rival. If you lose out to an arm like that to Virginia, well, that hurts you in the ACC, but you'll live to fight another. When you're losing out to the guy 2 hours away and they're your chief rival, there's an added weight to that deficiency, man. That's hard to overcome.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think also if you're an athletic director, your job is to be much like a general manager at the professional level, and that's to look at the big picture. And it's to say all at once, okay, I understand what you're saying, and I hear your complaints, but we just went to the College World Series and we threw our hat in the ring, gave ourselves a chance to win the whole prize. And maybe, if not for a 3-error play in game one, who knows? Because LSU sure as heck, I almost said something else. I've been away from the radio too long. But LSU sure as heck, won 2 in a row and got themselves into the best of 3 with Florida, which it seemed like an insurmountable task for LSU and Florida State when they were playing with 1 loss apiece. And we were at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. But they did it. So we gave ourselves a chance. But at the same time, you can also say, if you're the athletic director and you're looking at it from the Forest view, we don't go that often. They sure do. What's the difference? I'm glad.
Well, the difference is pitching.
And I'm glad that we're on the right track. And it looks like we're going to have a nice team again next year. I mean, Holton's coming back at Parrish. So you like the pitching to start out the year, and then you can fill out that third option.
Yeah.
Okay, I see you. We've got some young players like Luke and Raleigh and Mendoza that can anchor that lineup. And, it looks like we have enough to compete and put ourselves in a position to do that again. But let's look at this for the last 5-10 years. I mean, are we where we need to be, and why not? Why or why not?
What I would say, certainly coming off of a College World Series appearance, we're going to move on to football, folks. Don't get antsy. I would say coming off a College World Series appearance, it's hard to ask questions whether or not you need to be where you should be. I think you are. I think right now the most recent amount of evidence is that you're moving in the right direction as far as on the field success. But I do think that ultimately the lack of consistency with power arms and being able to get those kinds of recruits, it stems from recruiting and the instability you have here long term. And I think you have to make an announcement one way or the other. Like I'm not starting the argument about what I'm for or against right now. I've given you my opinion on that. What I'm saying is, objectively speaking, that to solve that problem, they have to, as a university and as an athletic department, decide, are we committing to Mike Martin Jr. and making him the next head coach at Florida State? If that's our plan, we need to announce that now. We need to give him a fighting chance in recruiting. Because right now, that is used against him and Bell and anybody associated with Florida State baseball. It's used against Mike Martin. Because when you're aging and you're retiring and everybody knows it, obviously kids don't commit long-term to guys that aren't going to be here. And when they don't know what the succession plan is, you're committing to uncertainty. And nobody is going to do that. Not when they have an option to go right down the road 2 hours. Not when they can go to another program in the same state that has just shown that they're winning and investing and long-term knows what their outlook is.
Yeah, your best recruiting pitch is it's kind of like, they got too many of them. So why don't you come be ours and mean more in Tallahassee? And that's a hard place to be because that tells you all you need to know about a deficiency. Again, when it comes to this specific type of pitcher, one that can light up the radar gun with control.
Which, oddly enough, leads me to exactly what I think may have just happened with a recent decommit at Florida State. We'll touch on it momentarily. He happens to have a pretty significant last name, one of which we hold in high regard around these parts. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Seriously, at Kraft Nissan, we have people that come in looking for a used vehicle and switch to a new Nissan for less money per month because of the huge discounts and 0% interest for 72 months. At Kraft Nissan, we're not kidding. You owe it to yourself to just come in and try us on. I promise you, you won't be disappointed, and you will go home in a new Nissan at an unbelievable price and a low payment. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. We have over 400 new Nissans in stock.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
Do you know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility, says it's summertime, and summertime is the time to go green and save energy. Here are a few simple things you can do right now that will save energy while you try to keep out of the summer heat. First thing, get your air conditioner checked out and change your air filters. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how much energy and money you can save. Going away from home on vacation? Why not purchase a programmable thermostat to regulate your air conditioner while you're not at home? Talk about an investment that'll pay energy savings dividends. Make an appointment right away for a free energy audit from the City of Tallahassee Utilities. You never know how much energy you can save until you do it. The City of Tallahassee is offering insulation grants. Why not apply for one? Did you know that the City of Tallahassee offers loans to help with the purchase of solar water heaters? Visit talgov.com/YOU for information on loans and rebates. So stay cool, go green, and save energy all summer long. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility.
When it comes to live gaming excitement, Creek Entertainment Gretna is your hometown headquarters. With live poker and simulcast race betting, you've got more winning opportunities right here close to home. Plus, we now offer 3-card poker and Pai Gow in our card room. Satisfy big appetites at Stables, featuring hot and cold sandwiches, salads, and weekend specials. There's always something exciting going on at Creek Entertainment Gretna, I-10 exit 174, Gretna, Florida.
Just announced. During the Ford Summer Sales Event, get a Ford F-150 with 0% financing for 60 months, plus an additional $1,000 on top of your trade-in. It's summer's hottest deal on the award-winning Built Ford Tough F-150. Take on summer right with Ford, America's best-selling brand, and save big on the Ford F-150. Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 on top of your trade-in. Hurry into the summer sales event, going on now only at your Ford dealer. Best selling based on 2016 sales. Not all buyers qualify for Ford credit financing. 60 months at $1,667 per month per $1,000 financed regardless of down payment. Trade Assist Cash requires trade-in of 95 or newer vehicle, or lease terminated 30 days prior to or 90 days after delivery. Not available on Raptor. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for complete details. Take new delivery from dealer stock by July 5th, 2017.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Just another dummy caught up in the system.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hello. A fine Balls McWednesday to you and yours. Did you have a good 4th?
I did. It was more quiet. It was a travel day. I spent a lot of the fireworks time and family time, on the front end of the weekend.
I had the opportunity last night to run into many a familiar face as my family was invited over to Gene Williams' house, warchant.com, the website, of course, and we went by and had some beverages and conversation with those people that were in attendance at the party, the fourth get-together. And it occurred to me as we were talking about James Cook decommitting from Florida State that people are ready to talk about football. that the folks there and everywhere that we currently run into are ready to talk about football. And I found, more importantly, because I'm selfish, that I'm ready to talk about football in the chorus of finding out that they were ready to talk about football. Because, you know, there's that point in the offseason where you run into the guy who could talk about football year-round, but you're not ready to because, you know, that's your job and you do it a lot, and there is that brief respite from it that you get, the reprieve when the end of the season comes that you're all at once dreading but also welcoming.
Oh, yeah, that guy's like, well, who's going to start on the offensive line?
Oh, sweet Jesus with this, dude. It's March.
And you say, well, they like Minshew at guard. Minshew at guard? Why would you put him at guard?
And then you go, listen, I'm going to go get a drink, and then you run. Yeah. So
I like him as center. You know, I don't know. Why would they put him at guard?
So I never know where, because it's a balancing act. I don't really know when that's going to change for me. You know, there's never an exact date. I think it went away right around the time that the NCAA football game went away. Because when the NCAA football game would come out, that would obviously get your juices flowing. You'd be like, oh, well, this is all right. There's football. There's things football related. It's happening. But now that designator's gone. That date.
EJ Manuel has 78 speed.
And dreads?
What are these jokers doing?
So you remember you'd get that and you'd go, okay, so this is where we're at. But there isn't that thing. And because magazines have largely gone the way of the dodo, that signifier is gone too for me. I mean, my process, the system by which I operated for the better part of a decade and a half is also now sort of gone. Not completely, because there is a bookstore in Tallahassee at least. But, you know, I would go to those places. Back when the old Borders was here, I'd go sit down, get my cup of joe, and head to the back and just read and get a caffeine-induced trimmer or something. But, I mean, we would have a good time reading, compiling the evidence, and then going forth and talking about college football. But there was a time stamp, like you knew. I don't really know when mine is anymore, except for to say it's quite certainly in July. It is July. It may have been late June. It might have been late June. Might have been. If you had brought it up, had we been sitting around over a frosty cold one at Gordo's or perhaps Corner Pocket, maybe even the 7th Hill Tap Room, I don't know.
Sangria if we're at one of those places.
True. For you. So there we would sit, and you brought up, hey, how do you think DeAndre Francois is going to progress this year from last? I would have known immediately. Tom, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm in baseball mode. To hell with your DeAndre Francois speculation. Or I would have said, yeah, that's a good question. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And then we would have gone on. I don't know. I think maybe late June I would have said, that's a good question. I've been thinking that a lot lately.
Here's what happened yesterday. I get home and on the road for a good 4.5 hours. So I'm ready to just sit down, bring the luggage in later. I just want to sit down for a moment and not think about.
Side note, bring it up later. Chalk that one up. That's a conversation that we can have on the air. Two kinds of people returning from trips. Those who bring in the luggage right now and put it away right now, and those who don't. I'm not choosing sides.
Yeah.
We'll have the discussion.
No, it's true. Well, it also depends on the trip and it depends on the cargo.
Right.
You know, like
that's true.
You know, if
there are mitigating factors.
If it's a weekend getaway, I don't think there's urgency. Like if there's a 7-day trip and you need to get that stuff in the washing machine now, you need to get it in there yesterday.
Yeah, size and type of luggage matters. Sure. All right.
So I get home, and I'm flipping around on the guide. I'm looking for anything, you know, because the Mets already got their brains kicked in by the Nationals again. And so I'm trying to find a baseball. Just I'm not feeling it right now because I'd seen that.
Yeah.
You know. And lo and behold, yes, I caved. The SEC Network had college football on, and it was Florida and Arkansas
You
last
watched
year.
Florida versus Arkansas?
I turned it on as I turned it on. And you know what?
I don't know what to say about that.
I saw laundry running at laundry, and I said,
hitting one another.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to watch old games, last year's games, to get a better idea.
Reacquaint yourself with what worked and what didn't, what's back, what's not.
Yeah, man. I mean, Auburn and Georgia was on after that.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably a good off and on 90 minutes. I was watching some football yesterday.
I do appreciate that you're at least preparing yourself for the kind of quarterback play you're going to see in the ACC this year by watching the SEC from a year ago.
This is true.
Garbaggio. Yeah. That conference, shockingly, had a collection of stiffs at quarterback last year that really should never happen at a conference like the SEC with the recruiting advantages that most of those schools have and the money that is sunken into those programs. But there is no denying that was a heaping helping of crap out of the SEC a year ago. Something to behold on the SEC network, apparently. Every night these days.
Every night. Darinoka says, well, we must move forward due to time constraints. And I'm thinking to myself, what time constraints do you really have on the SEC network? Got that big program coming up at 8 p.m. that you got to get?
Most certainly.
Come on now.
Perhaps a rerun of some softball.
You have no time constraints whatsoever.
None. You let it play out in its entirety, Dari. It's the SEC. So that's fine. I'm with you. I've turned the corner. And how can't you? I mean, first of all, it is ACC kickoff, and it's happening in 8 days. So in 8 days, I will be in Charlotte attending said ACC kickoff, and I will have my interviews with Jimbo Fisher and DeAndre Francois and others, of course. Hope to sit down and talk to my man, Justin Fuente. Just a nice guy. Just want to talk to him. Mark Richt as well, and players throughout the conference. I look forward to it, and it's always fun to get together with some old friends who cover the Atlantic Coast Conference and get their thoughts on the various teams. It did get my mind moving in that direction at the same time that we read about James Cook decommitting from FSU, calling that a business decision, if you will. I have had fun at the expense of the high school athlete over the years and their inability to properly define commitment. And we have fun with the Reedy Rees and all of the aforementioned variations, right? The Reedy Rees and all those. That's happened over the years. We've got commitment, then we've got a non-commitment, then we've got a recommitment, then a non-commitment followed by a recommitment. Those are always fun. But I don't worry about it this far removed from when the actual commitment is due. Usually I just kind of, all right, those are 16-year-olds and why I couldn't be a coach, because that's annoying and dumb. But I started thinking about him not committing and that position in particular. So if you will, you can cue it up. It is a little bit of what them kids doing.
Hello once again, friends. It's time for What Them Kids Doing.
Look at that jibber jabber Jeff. What's that kid bench? How fast does he run?
Hey, who let you in here?
Look at him. I bet he can bench a lot. What them kids doing, Jeff?
Yeah, and it's as simple as that. James Cook is decommitted from Florida State, and we'll look at other avenues. We'll see. Maybe he comes back to Florida State. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. You always hope that certainly when a kid is a talent and is somebody that could bolster the roster, you want him to come to your school, but it's this far removed. There could be other factors. I don't know his standing academically. I don't know his situation. So we'll wait and see how this plays out. But in large part, what them kids doing is kind of a rare moment here. We're not going to get specific about what recruits are doing other than to mention James Cook is decommitted, but rather, maybe he decommitted because most of these guys are saying yes at the running back position to Florida State. Look at the plethora of running backs that we've produced both to the league and now are currently in our backfield. This is over the years, we've thought about various positions that Florida State has provided in excess. Lately, it's been corner, right? We've looked at the secondary and said, man.
Or quarterback.
Or
I mean,
quarterback,
really, just
right.
from a first-round draft pick standpoint.
The ability. I always crack up. People will say, yeah, but they haven't always fared all that well. It doesn't make any difference. If a guy goes on to be a first-round pick and make millions of dollars, then he has sufficed in your efforts to get further recruits at that position to play the game of college football at quarterback. Well, that's it. You got it.
Well, and our old friend and the guy who stole the signals, Damian Craig, cut right to the chase on Twitter a couple weeks ago where he, it's a graphic of a fake
Getting
check.
paid, yes.
And it says over
Jimbo Fisher.
$200 million to Jimbo Fisher quarterbacks.
Well,
You know,
yeah, no,
it's
that's
unbelievable.
it. That's all you have to do. It doesn't matter whether or not any of them go on to have great careers. One of them's in the process of doing just that, and Jameis Winston, but there are countless others who haven't. Obviously, E.J. Manuel hasn't amounted to anything, and for that matter, Christian Ponder. But none of that matters. Those kids got paid. They came here and got drafted in the first round. Now I'm recruiting you. You're at quarterback. I get you to the first round. It's on you after that. Now, having said all of that, back to the running back position. Dalvin Cook, we think, is going to have a great career. Deondre Francois. Who am I thinking of? Devonta Freeman. D and an F.
Position change.
Yeah.
DeAndre Francois. Breaking news.
Yeah. So Freeman obviously has been an upper echelon running back, Pro Bowler, guy that feels like he should have been an MVP of the Super Bowl. That said, it doesn't matter what happens with the remaining of his career. We wish him well, certainly. But if he's out of the league in 2 years because running back is a position of abuse, then maybe. But the point is he's had great success, and Chris Thompson is still in the league making money. This is a guy who blew out his knee, broke his back, still in the league doing things. We've seen guys now at that position. And again, I just mentioned Dalvin Cook, but you look at Cam Akers and that highlight reel, it promises to be a very good career, we think, knock on wood.
Well, yeah, and then there's Carlos Williams, who, while we were gone, he was suspended for a calendar year from the NFL. But that guy was a breakout player in his rookie season for the Bills.
Yes, he was. And have he bothered to keep himself in shape and stop doing whatever it is that's getting him suspended? I don't know what that is, but whether that's performance enhancers or not. The point is, yes, he was a viable running back in the league, made an immediate impact with the Bills just like that, especially in the red zone and short yardage situations. Yes, Florida State is beginning to develop a pretty good reputation at running back, but moreover, the current crop is loaded because it's not just Cam Akers, who's the high-profile five-star commit, but we obviously like Jacques Patrick. You and I like Jacques Patrick a lot. Amir Rasul's a guy that really, because of injury, we haven't seen, but people tell me, wait till you see this kid fully healthy and what he's able to do from a speed standpoint. He could be the guy. Nobody's talking about it, but he could be a guy. So they got talent there again. They're loaded.
Well, that's to say nothing of LeBourne, too, who at the Under Armour All-American game was the kid who hurdled the bench early in the game, one of his first carries, and he's got the speed and power to go most anywhere in the country, but he decided to compete here at Florida State. I think it's just two things combined here. Number one is it's the depth chart, and these are all incoming freshmen. We're listing 3 incoming freshmen, and Amir Rasul is just beginning his career. And then also, his last name's Cook. And listen, I think we want to rewrite history and say that Dalvin Cook was a null like Devonta Freeman was from the get-go.
He committed to Florida and Clemson.
Yes.
And Miami, I think.
Yes. If he didn't, then he was at least considering them down to
the pain that must still linger down in Miami.
I think he did, though.
Yeah,
right? Didn't we trade Yearby for Cook? I think that's how it ended up going.
Yeah, I think we got the better.
But that's the point. When James Cook, that is, first committed to Florida State, I said, well, okay, if he's anything like his brother, then he's not coming here. This is just the first stop of this crazy tour, and everybody's going to be talking about him down the stretch. So, I wasn't counting my chickens. And then we have Cam Akers come in, and I see that film, and we have LeBourne, and I say, okay, I don't care. You know what? If he has a great career, I hope he doesn't go to a rival and burn us. But if he has a great career somewhere else, so be it. We're loaded right now. We're good at this position because think about it. You're going to be redshirting somebody this year. There's just too many horses in the backfield. So we're set at this position. One would think, injury and academics and all that kind of stuff holding constant for the next 3 or 4 seasons. So, okay.
Which doesn't mean we don't want you to come, James. But we're just saying, if you don't, I understand. If you don't like that kind of competition that truly elite stars tend to gravitate towards, so be it. Go play at USF. But others, they see it as the ultimate challenge.
I actually would like to see him kick ass at USF. That'd be great. Good for him.
Oh, screw USF. No. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
F-150. Get 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,000 on top of your trade-in. Hurry into the summer sales event, going on now only at your Ford dealer. Best selling based on 2016 sales. Not all buyers qualify for Ford credit financing. 60 months at $1,667 per month per $1,000 finance regardless of down payment. Trade Assist Cash requires trade-in of 95 or newer vehicle, or lease terminated 30 days prior to or 90 days after delivery. Not available on Raptor. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for complete details. Take new delivery from dealer stock by July 5th, 2017.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Don't let Tallahassee's hot summers get you down. Barano Heating and Air Conditioning can help in case of a breakdown, day or night. Their certified technicians can get you up and running in no time. Turn to the experts at Carrier and at Barano Heating and Air. Call 580-4029 or visit baranoac.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
Wonder what the outrageously energizing experience of Mountain Dew Kickstart is like? Well, it's like a combo of 3 awesome things. Dew, juice, and caffeine, rebooting your entire personal operating system.
Mountain Dew Kickstart is in position for consumption. All systems cleared for launch. Initiate launch sequence. T-minus 3, 2, 1, mark. Release the Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mountain Dew Kickstart released. Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now.
Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful.
You are now off the couch and out exploring the world.
Roger that.
Get charged up for what's coming next anytime, anywhere with Mountain Dew Kickstart. Available in 10 energizing flavors like mango lime, raspberry citrus, midnight grape, and orange citrus. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Fuel with flavor.
RCD Shell knows how to keep you cool and refreshed. All 20-ounce Pepsi and Mountain Dew products are 2 for $2.22. That's right, 2 for $2.22. And 28-ounce Gatorade is buy one, get one free. It's more fun with Pepsi and Dew, so bring on the bubbles with these cool prices at RCD Shell.
Are you wanting to raise some extra cash fast? Think Thrifty Nickel. Need to clean out that garage full of stuff you never use? Think Thrifty Nickel. Need a newer car or truck and don't want to break the bank? Think Thrifty Nickel. Buying or selling, your best bet is Thrifty Nickel. All ads appear in print and online for maximum results. Place your ad today and ask for their guaranteed results special. Call 385-0505. Get your free copy of American Classifieds, available at hundreds of locations throughout the greater Tallahassee area.
Come see the all-new Bad Boy MZ Magnum and ZT Elite zero-turn mowers at TNT Supercenter. Both models offer the strongest decks in the industry and now have a new deck dial adjustment. Simply lift the deck and set the height with the twist of a knob. Manufactured from 7-gauge fabricated welded steel with an additional 3/8-inch leading-edge reinforcement, MZ Magnum starts at $3,399 and ZT Elite pricing starts at $4,499. Financing with no money down and payments as low as $77 a month with approved credit. TNT and Bad Boy Mower, on a mission to help everybody mow with an attitude.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a crystal ball winning catch.
He's looking, he lost it to the end zone. It's Benjamin! Touchdown! With 13 seconds left!
The 97.9 ESPN radio special is a must-have every Monday and Wednesday at the corner pocket. 10 mouth-watering wings, a fresh side of fries, and a chilled domestic pint of beer are just $9.79 all day long. Be sure and try the fish blend of sauces, a true wing eater's favorite. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Home of Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the daily $7.99 lunch special.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Yeah. All right, that's a very young me. Shag carpeting upstairs.
Oh, okay,
good. And a Maiden album. JCS at 979 ESPNradio.com, the email address. Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Happy to be here today. Good to be back in this here, the chosen profession. I realize when I'm away from it how much I miss you guys and this job and the things we talk about on a daily basis. That subject will be football by and large for, weeks and weeks to come, because in 29 days, football begins with the Hall of Fame game. 29 days. What are we doing here? 29 days.
I had forgotten the feeling of longing for a football season, and because I hadn't had it the same way the last couple of years. But when your baseball team is bad,
you turn to football with the quickness.
Oh, it's intensified.
Well, the hockey wasn't much better. So see, the double whammy between what the Lightning didn't do and what the Mets aren't doing has led you directly back into the arms of college football.
Well, and may I offer a hat trick of whammies? Because the Buccaneers figure to be a pretty good football team this year, and that's been a while. So there you go. Triple whammy.
By the way, so I told you in 29 days, football begins with a Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. In 51 days, the first college football game is played. We're talking about 50 and a wake-up, T. Lizzie. 50 and a wake-up. You do realize tomorrow it's 49 and a wake-up.
Oh, man.
Woo! Woo!
Now it's real.
Well, you almost feel rushed. I'm not prepared.
I can tell you, over the course of the Best of week last week, the folks from the Chick-fil-A kickoff committee reached out and they said, hey.
They said, how's Jeff Cameron doing?
I said, he's doing just fine.
He's in Washington, D.C. and or Baltimore. I'm not sure today. Your question is?
Educating his children. That's what he's doing.
I was.
It's a vacation, but an educational one at that. And they said, that sounds just like Jeff. Listen, you might want to sign up for credentials because it's that time.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
That's code for, hey, a-hole. Going to sign up for credentials this year?
I said, how's that Mercedes-Benz Stadium coming? The roof all good? We're going to be playing football in there? And they said, yes, it is. We're going to be playing football in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Have you seen the mocks? Have you seen the artist rendering? Have you seen the actual photos?
Yes. Yeah.
You've seen the big-ass board. Yeah. The wraparound.
Yeah, it's a circle.
Hey, now.
All good things.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And we're also in the process, just to peek behind the curtain some more, having our annual meetings, our big meetings, and tomorrow is one of them here at ESPN Radio, where we begin to kind of marry what corporate wants and what we want and what's possible in all things covering college football. And, of course, the money. But that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
Sure.
And that's always a wonderful discussion because it's another sign, another nugget, if you will, that we are moving forward and celebrating what we've all been longing for. But it also takes me to this, which I mentioned a moment ago, had the good fortune of hanging out with Gene Williams last night and the folks over at War Chant. We were talking a lot about the upcoming season, and I started thinking, Ira wrote an article about that, and how it's hard to believe that it's been 6 months since we walked off the field against Michigan in that thrilling 33-32 victory, and that now here we are, on the precipice of yet another season. But this season, and I'm not doing this for the sake of our benefit, because it certainly behooves us to have interest ratcheted up, but I actually think this season is kind of a weird one in that if you ask me to project, and we do have to do a July W's and L's, but it's not now.
Okay.
Didn't want to catch you off guard.
I was there.
Give it some thought.
It's a couple pages away.
Yeah. So we are into a new month, and we will be doing a W's and L's, and soon. And that reminds me that the way I view this season is boom or bust. I don't think it's a middling deal here. I think, because I think the narrow definition of success for a team like this is such that any more than 2 losses is a disaster. So it's very easy to clearly define good season, very good season, and bad season, not a good season. And there's not much middling. I feel like last year turned out to be somewhat middling. There was enough bad to make you angry, enough lacking to say that's unacceptable, got to do better than that. Can't give up a record number of points on College game day and watch Louisville run circles around us and look like a bunch of a-holes. I've never practiced defense. And you can't also then ignore that you swept your rivals again. You should have beaten Clemson if not for a terrible call. They went on to win the national title, so you played a great game there against a very good team and an all-time great college quarterback. And, of course, you beat one of the great institutions in all of college football in Michigan in your bowl game, which happened to be the Orange Bowl, which still has some significance. So all of these things occurred. And you could then say it was a okay season. We did okay. Some bad, some real bad, some real good. I'm not real sure where I place that. I'm not in love with the year, but I don't hate it. I don't think you'll get that this year. I think that margin, I think that window, that grace is gone. I think this is an important year, and don't take this. People always want to take things as referendums. Don't do that. But I think it's an important year for Jimbo Fisher. The perception of who and what Jimbo Fisher is as a coach, I think, will be greatly influenced in the minds and eyes of others by what happens this year. We're far enough removed from Jameis Winston, Heisman Trophy winning national champion quarterback, first-round pick, who's emerging now as a Pro Bowl caliber player in the league. So you know what he is and what he was. And when you see that, you say, oh, okay, well, yeah. Pre-Jameis, post-Jameis, people will begin to look intently on what were those seasons. Well, they're mixed bags. There's some real good in there, some real good. But there's some real bad in there. Coming off a bye week loss to Wake Forest in there. There's a losing at home on senior night to Virginia in there. There's plenty of, what did we do here?
Georgia Tech on the road.
NC State. So there's all of these things, but there's a lot of good too. There's a lot of good. So I feel like people are kind of, I don't know what to say here. I think if you're an objective observer from afar, you're not real sure what Jimbo Fisher is. You think he's a good coach. There's no doubt about that. But you don't know where he belongs in the pantheon of great. Or does he belong at all under the banner of great?
Well, I think, where you are right now, as you say, it's been a slam dunk hire. It was a really, really difficult situation.
It was a great hire.
Yes.
Slam dunk, no doubt. You're right.
Because we were in a vulnerable position.
He turned it around with the quickness.
We could be Miami right now.
Oh, sure. I mean, good Lord. Going on a decade's worth of futility.
That's a simple thought, but it represents an awful lot, doesn't it? We could be Miami right now.
Forbid.
And we're not, thankfully. We got another national title on the ledger, and we've had 10-win seasons. We had 29 straight, 29 players to the league in 3 years.
And 7 straight wins over the aforementioned University of Miami.
Lost to Florida one time, took 5 turnovers, and boneheaded effort on a tough day in November, a tough Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
But otherwise, I mean, it's been largely positive. I think, the referendum, if you even want to go that far, would be, okay, on defense, do we look ill-prepared again? Because that's something that has to at least enter your thought process as we're looking towards the Alabama game is, are we going to know where to be? Are we going to get our signals in quick enough?
I think Derwin James answers that, sure.
That's great. Okay, but then what happens when he's gone? Or what happens if he gets banged up and has to come off for a series or two? Beyond just... He has to be the savior in terms of lining us up because Jimbo put a vote of confidence in his defensive coordinator. He's put a vote of confidence in his staff at large by not making moves this offseason. And that's kind of rare in this day and age. Either somebody's coming or going for promotional purposes or they're not getting the job done. He said, no, we like what we have. We're good where we are. And if we feel like the coaching staff has let us down, even if it's not Jimbo directly, if it's somebody on the defensive staff, I think that's where the conversation goes, what's he doing here with staff selection? Because he had a chance last year. He had ample evidence to say we need to go in a different direction, and he didn't.
Well, and that's largely because the hiring of Charles Kelly as defensive coordinator to begin with was second guessed. The thought being, this is Florida State University. You don't have to give people an opportunity to get their feet wet in a role such as defensive coordinator. You can go out and get guys with bona fides, people who have kicked ass in tough leagues, to come and say yes as your DC, and you didn't.
Well, and it wasn't as if it was an immediate, promotion. That took, 2-3 weeks? And there were a couple of other names bantied about, and they got shot down or took other jobs. And then all of a sudden, we're still waiting and saying, are they going to elevate this guy or not?
Also, one of the reasons that occurred is we were in a transitional period yet again. So frequently we are, as you noted, in terms of salaries for coaches, assistant coaches. And not only was the university kind of beginning to see and understand that they had to dedicate themselves to upping the salaries of assistant coaches if you wanted to get the creme de la creme, but also other universities were in play doing the same thing, and guys had options where they could make over $1 million and get guaranteed money, something that for many, many years was really just not applicable to assistant coaches in college football, that it so radically shifted and Florida State was behind. But Florida State's not behind now. Florida State, for the most part, there are some schools that certainly can spend more, but for the most part, very competitive with their assistants' salaries. And so at that time, we were kind of figuring out what's not wrong-headed, what's normal and not over the top. Is it crazy to spend $2 million on a defensive coordinator or $1.5 million on a defensive coordinator? Clemson said no. Turned out to be a good decision. That guy is kicking ass and taking names. But this happened for Florida State, and Kelly became the defensive coordinator, and it was interesting to watch because he's had some good moments, but he's also had some really what could be otherwise described as career-defining lows.
Well, and one of which, one of those lows was for the world to see on Showtime. And that's, we look at Jimbo really quickly here. I know we're up against it a little bit, but some of the miscalculations over his time here, there have been few compared to the dead-on moves that he's made. Everett Golson was one. And then I think Showtime was another one last year. He didn't anticipate having the kind of season that we had. So we got, in a way, a really a transparent look at what was going on in those coaching offices. We debated it, whether or not it was genuine, some of these moments. But the particular moment where he's in the coaches' meeting, he says, guys, what do we need to do to better reach the kids? Like, why are we not communicating? Where's the breakdown? The admission of a breakdown. Okay, that's really troubling. And you have to recalibrate from that. They signed IOUs, and you played a bunch of pro-style offenses, and you look better, and you went toe-to-toe with Clemson. These are all good signs.
And they played well on defense against Clemson for that offense. I mean,
yes.
Even Alabama doesn't slow down that offense. So I think that was an effort that says, okay.
But what that does is it calms you down, but it doesn't help you forget. So if something happens again this year that is anything akin to what happened last season, what the people who are criticizing it and the people at the gate would say is, it's too late. You should have done that last year.
It doesn't matter because it's just like all those years where the Detroit Lions drafted wide receiver and then the guy didn't pan out because he's drunk at a Mexican restaurant on a Tuesday. Okay, well, that happened, but you still need a receiver. So the next year you would draft a receiver and they'd go, we just drafted. Well, he sucks. We need another one. It doesn't mean you don't have a need. So all that'll happen now is if Charles has another one of those moments, people will be mad, and they'll say it's too late. Well, it doesn't matter. You still need to do defensive coordinator, and we'll be in the market for one, and it'll have to happen, and this would leave no doubt. Now, I'm not rooting for that, of course not. And Charles Kelly is beloved, by the way, by his players and the assistant coaches and the administration and, obviously, Jimbo Fisher. So people are rooting for that guy big time, and I'm one of them. because he's nothing but a pro's pro when you speak to him and you want him to do well, but performance matters. So if you don't do well, you have got to go. You will be fired, and if you're not, then people will point the fingers at Jimbo Fisher.
Well, it wasn't long ago that he turned down a bigger offer.
That's right.
And he
to
said
stay here.
because he's loyal to Jimbo, and he got very emotional about that. And
he's an eminently likable guy.
Yes, there is no doubt about that. But in terms of when you were introducing the discussion and saying, we're going to have a better definition about what Coach Fisher is after this season. I'm saying that
well, you're saying it's going
decision,
there'll be a diversion. It will go to that.
No,
or you'll say that will be on the ledger of bad.
I'm saying that helps inform what we label Coach Fisher as, because he decided that vote of confidence was the right play with Charles Kelly, and we're all rooting for him to be right.
Well, and also he has a history when things have gone awry of making good decisions and saying the right thing. I mean, Jimbo Fisher, by and large, is better after a loss, especially a perplexing one, than he is after a win. I mean, when you speak to him, that is, in terms of gleaning information in the way that he thinks and how he handles crisis. I mean, it's a strong suit of his, and I greatly admire it because it's usually a characteristic of leadership. So if this, that's the decision he's going to make, then you have to believe, based on previous times that he dug in, took a stand with Jameis, etc.
Sure. Well, even with the offensive line coach.
That's right.
That 2013 season did happen, and
That's
people
right.
seem to forget that conveniently.
Oh, sure. So he's done that, and it's worked out. We're all hoping it does again. And the first time it doesn't, you have to point it out, and it counts too, and it will be talked about. But that's why I go back to what I said originally, which is in having the conversations I had around the pool last night with War Chant folks, and then conversations I'm having with people as we enter the month of July and realize we are so close to football starting, this feels like a pivotal year. Not necessarily a referendum, not necessarily a transition, but an important year for Florida State and for Jimbo Fisher in particular. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford. The place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Where bags of Miracle Grow garden soil are a special buy, 4 for just $10. It improves existing soil with nutrients plants need for stronger roots, so they'll hit the ground running, starting with much better ground. Miracle Grow garden soil, 4 bags, $10. Now at the #1 retailer for Scott's Miracle Grow, the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through July 5th while supplies last. Contiguous U.S. only. Limit 80 per customer.
O'Reilly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard filter for $21.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and save money with 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard filter for $21.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The 14th annual Kingfish Shootout is right around the corner, August 5th and 6th. With total payouts equaling over $20,000, Kingfish prizes range from 1st through 10th place, and Spanish mackerel prizes range from 1st through 3rd place. All profits go to the Leukemia Research Foundation. More than $865,000 has been donated in the past 13 years. If interested, go to the website and click Tournaments and follow the rules. You can register and pay online at the same time. Seaquarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Highway 98, Carabel, online at seaquartersmarina.com or call them 850-697-8400.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's way too early to worry about decommitments, but when it's the brother of former Florida State running back Dalvin Cook, it does raise an eyebrow. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, Florida State lost out on James Cook on Tuesday afternoon. The younger brother of Florida State's all-time leading rusher announced his decommitment via Twitter. Florida State redshirt senior Alex Powers was named the 2017 ACC Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year and also headlines the All-ACC academic team. A lot of moving and shaking in the NBA free agency in overload. Gordon Hayward leaves Utah, takes his talents to the Celtics for $30+ million a year. And today, the LA Clippers have acquired Denver Nuggets free agent Danilo Gallinari, a 3-year, $65 million deal. And also, the Miami Heat have parted ways with Chris Bosh, but Pat Riley says they will retire the number 1, and no one will ever be able to wear it again in Heat history.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do, we got you. All 3 hours posted every day upon the conclusion of the show. Brought to you with limited commercial interruption. Thanks to our great podcast sponsor, CarltonDean.com, and the fine folks at Southland Commercial. If you're looking to make money in commercial real estate, income-producing properties, off-market deals, go to CarltonDean.com. Email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter @JCameronShow. Good to be back with you. Happy Balls McWednesday. Happy belated 4th of July, Independence Day. WTSM app is good for mobile devices as well. Email the show, jcs@979espnradio.com. And we're on YouTube, I think. Is that working? Yep, good.
Yeah, Ray, okay.
ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube, you can watch. I tend to be negative about that particular feed.
I just watch you ask the question, are we okay? You know?
I like that you did that.
Yeah, the playback.
You know, it was I guess an added punch this year, the 4th of July, because I had just returned from D.C. and had the refresher course on all things independence and how we have arrived in our current state. And it was great. I mean that sincerely. There was no cynicism there at all. I absolutely had a greater appreciation this 4th of July than I have in years, just because of all of the many trips to the various Smithsonian museums and all of that. And then, of course, Baltimore. I went to Fort McHenry and Federal Hill and all that good stuff. So it was outstanding.
I feel the same way. I watched The Patriot, and I feel like, man, it's great to be an American.
Moved you to tears, didn't it?
It did. In truth, though, this past weekend in the Blue Ridge Mountains, you get some time, man. And the great part about this particular area is apparently people just decide to buy thousands of dollars of fireworks.
Yes.
And this isn't put on by any town, and they just shoot them into the sky, but they're at eye level, which is a cool way to catch fireworks because they're different, valleys. That's where they're shooting them from, the valleys and the lakes. Oh, it was freaking awesome, man. What a fireworks show
Valleys
this
below,
weekend.
yes.
Oh,
And
yes.
I imagine those would be places, too, that you wouldn't want to frequent. Those valleys, those homes, those places.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them absolutely
Yeah,
you would.
some of them you absolutely would. You're right.
On
And
the lake.
others you'd say, there's some deliverance to this. We should probably move it on down the road.
Man, I was using US 19 to get out of there. Typically, you take 575 and you go up there north of Atlanta, and it's a main road, so there aren't many twists and turns. But if you take US 19 through the Blue Ridge,
I have.
You have? Okay. Well, your car better be ready, and I'm glad I have my Kraft Nissan Sentra.
Oh, sir, like we never took a day off. My goodness, is that well done. Everybody stand up wherever you are and applaud. That is not something to be tried at home. I am proud of you,
It
sir.
really did, though, I have to say.
It crept up on me right there. That's well done.
If it was my old car, I don't know, I would have made it. You might be having a new producer forever.
At Jay Cameron Show, a mutual friend of ours writes, you shut your mouth, Tom Wang, regarding Derwin James coming out of the game against Alabama.
Hashtag a-hole.
Yeah, that I understand. I absolutely understand that sentiment.
All I'm saying is, if he's God's gift to football with his athletic abilities, does he have to be the guy that also lines you upright? Does he have to be the great barrier between us looking like a-holes on the field?
Great players do very impactful things both on and off the field, and that leadership, Tom, is all part of the overall package, sir. Yes, Derwin James does that, much the way LaMarcus Joyner and others have played such pivotal roles.
I'm just saying, at some point, could we have 6 or 7 defensive backs /
Who all get
linebackers who all know where to be, when to be, and we don't have to be hustling in these signals as the ball's being snapped and the opposition has a wide open guy up the seam? Can we just have a year where that's not the case? I'd love that. That'd be great.
Reasonable season expectation is ACC champions and a berth in the college football playoff. Are we going to agree as a fan base that that's where we're at?
I'm with you. If I count for one vote in that fan base, I think so. Yeah. I mean, Clemson is in a year where there's a lot of turnover. They have the skill to reload, but they're losing the most impactful position on the field.
Well, what happens too, Tom, and to your point on this, you bring up Clemson right away, understandably. They're your chief rival along with Louisville now in the Atlantic, is you see potential pitfalls and you see potholes on the road to these successes that I'm describing. But we fall into this trap as fans of then saying, well, it's possible we could lose this game, this game, this game, this game. But again, I would say that the overriding, I think, belief here is that Florida State is equipped to avoid those potholes. I mean, they have a staunch defense, a good college quarterback. Not great. We'll see if he takes that step, but he's a good college quarterback. They have elite talent at wide receiver that if you're scheduling a group to take a step forward based on experience and age, they're in that category. You're loaded at running back. So these are all things that any given season, if you saw somebody else possess, you'd say, boy, they're set up to be pretty damn good this year. So sure, Florida State has a game against Alabama, and they have a game against Louisville, and they have a road game against Clemson, and of course you play your rivals in an improving Miami program, all jokes aside. And you have, because I think the Miami defense is going to be good, and you have we'll see what Florida is at the end of the year. It all depends on how good they are at quarterback. We'll see if Zaire does that for them. But, I can find the potential pitfalls, but it's not like Jimbo Fisher hasn't put together great recruiting classes and elite talent at important positions. You've got arguably the best player in the country on one side of the ball in Derwin James, and you have an experienced quarterback who took his lumps and got better as the year went on, and talented group. The season seems to come down to whether or not this offensive line, which is now equipped with a better caliber of athlete and lineman as recruited by that class a couple of years back that we got so excited about, are they equipped to take the big step that everybody else around them should be able to take? If the answer is yes to that, could be a magical season, could be a national championship run, could be certainly a playoff run. If the answer is no to that, your worst nightmares are possible, which would be another 3 to 4 loss campaign, at which point, again, we're starting to have a much different kind of discussion.
Okay, so what is the floor necessary for us to have that magical type season?
Well, you can lose to Alabama, certainly.
But I mean, in terms of offensive line play, would you say it's average offensive line play? Is that what's necessary for us to be able to take that step? Is it above average? Is it good? Is it really good? You see where I'm going here?
Yeah, sure.
Like, how bad can they be
for us to be good?
And we could still be good. Yeah. Because everything else, you're right. Everything else lines up nicely.
I don't think they can be. I think in individual matchups, listen, this is a defensive-minded league this year. You've got a lot of talent on defense, and you've got to step back at quarterback play. So the scores are going to be lower. The complexion of these games are going to change from what they were last year, which felt like anytime you were playing a good team, it was going to be in the 30s. That's the race. You had quarterbacks galore, and you're saying, I don't think even a good defense keeps these teams down under 28 points. I think as we go into this season, you're not going to be saying that. You're going to be saying the race is to 24, to 27, to 21 more often than you did a year ago. Well, if that's the case, if more often than not, we're talking about defensive efforts carrying the day, well, Florida State's got we think, one of the best defenses in the country, potentially. Good time for it because that defense will have to rise up. And really, basically, you're talking about the Louisville game. If we're going to point to an elite offense and say, is there a game where that's not the case? Well, it's the Louisville game. That's going to be a high-scoring game, we would assume, right? Other than that, I think it's all kind of old-school football, and we've got the defense to play and win games like that.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to say that you feel better about that game for two reasons, the Louisville game.
The second half of their season a year ago?
Yes, and then two, it's here. And, revenge is on the mind at home. All those things, they work together.
I get pissed off talking about it.
Yeah.
They ought to – I mean, can you imagine what they feel?
Oh, no, I can't.
Well, they should feel shame and humiliation from a year ago, and that should carry every workout and day forward, right? I mean, this is where Derwin James is not only elite, but as is the case usually with leaders and talented players, they possess a sort of a what-for that permeates a defense in a locker room. And, that had to have been very difficult to watch from afar. Coming off an injury, and then to see that dismantling and to see guys confused, lost, embarrassed, made fun of, clowned on the field, people walking into your huddle.
Yeah, that's crazy. Should have started a fight right then.
Yes, they should have.
Yeah.
That let me know all I needed to know about that team's character. It was lacking. There was no toughness. There was no moxie. There was no what for. There was none of that. There was a whole lot of soft-ass confusion. Embarrassing. That can't happen, but I don't think it will.
I don't either. And, we go back to the 90s teams and what I can remember of those 90s teams. And obviously Derwin James is going to be the star of the team. Hell, Sports Illustrated said he's the best player in the country. So he's not going to surprise anybody, and he'll be talked about just a little bit in the way that we get tired of our stars, in a sense. The national media rehashing the same 3 talking points about every player. Yeah. That'll be Derwin James this year. They'll show you the photos of him in crutches, and you're going to get so tired of that by week 3. But remember, those teams in those days, the defensive line set the tone. And that's the thing to be excited about for me. My brother-in-law and I are sitting next to each other having dinner in Atlanta, and he's a Florida State alum. And, he's got a family, 3 kids, so he's only getting to football right now. He can't live it every single day. So he's saying, all right, so what does it look like? And I said, it's the defensive line. That's why I'm excited. The depth of talent across the front. I mean, you're talking about guys like Burns and Sweat and being able to spell those players for 10 to 20 snaps a game. And then the interior is 7 to 8 deep. You can set a nasty tone with Derwin James and the back end of the defense and that group up front. That's what has me hoping. And they can change numbers on the scoreboard for you. Even if your offense is struggling, they give you short fields. That's the type of defense that we potentially have in front of us this year, and that's why I get excited and the expectations are the way they are, because I think you can set a tone with that defensive front that makes everybody better in that defense, all 11.
It's interesting to take that discussion, that talking point about the season as a whole, the outlook of a season, and why we're so excited about the defense in particular leading the way, and the talent, the depth of talent, and the size, certainly. And just apply it to one game, the Alabama game. Because while we both, I think, believe, and I think Florida State fans by and large believe that this will be a good defense and they will do a good job in a way that they didn't do a year ago, especially in the first half of the season, do we really think they're going to slow down Alabama? I mean, we're going to laud them for what we think they'll be this year. We're going to talk about how good they're going to be. But then do we turn around and second-guess that same unit and contradict ourselves by saying that we think Alabama's going to score in the 30s? Because I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people feel like Alabama just can't be slowed. They're just too big, too strong. They wear you down, and they run their quarterback, and he in himself is a beast and like a running back, you know. I mean, that we're going to get worn down. But, you know, I would guess that Bama fans, and I don't know this, would be a little concerned and say that this could be a low-scoring game. And if it's a low-scoring game, okay, I think we like our chances if that's the case. If we keep this thing down, because the alternative is this. The alternative is your offensive line's not blocking well. You're creating short fields for Alabama. Your defense is getting worn down, and the score gets away from you in the second half. So if it's high-scoring, that scenario just played out, and you're getting blown out. If it's low-scoring, you're going toe-to-toe, and both offenses are struggling to move the ball against elite defenses. Then you're in that game in the fourth quarter, and you got a chance to beat mighty Alabama, and it's going to be played the way you want it to be played, I think.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
It's a heavyweight fight in the truest sense.
Yeah.
That's one thing, as you're talking about ACC play, and it certainly applies to the Alabama game. What doesn't apply when you play Alabama and you're talking about elite?
Sure.
Turnovers are going to be such a big deal this year. I mean, for both sides, you know, making sure that we don't turn the ball over and whatever the defense can provide in the way of short fields. Field position, turnovers, all those little things. If it plays out the way you're talking about and the quarterback play drop-off across the ACC is, in fact, what happens and what we see on a Saturday-by-Saturday basis, all those little details are going to matter for so much more. I mean, if your average starting field position is your own 23-yard line versus your opponent at their own 41-yard line, that's going to matter more now than it did last year when you're racing to 35 or 38.
Sure.
And for one, you know, it's not W's and L's day yet. I feel like that Alabama game, the race right now, it's to 24 points. That feels like a couple of things at once. You know, our defense has a ton of experience and talent.
It should be noted, I want to clarify this too, because I think it's important to our discussion. Modern football, if you hold somebody with the rules the way they are now to 24 points, if they're a good football team, just in general, you did a hell of a job on defense. Okay.
Yeah. Their defensive line, even though it's not experienced, I mean, if you're just going by history, it says recent history, it says that, well, we're going to have a hard day moving the football because our offensive lines hardly are.
You got a kid starting at left tackle, we believe, who's never started a college football game, and he's going against Alabama.
And even if Alabama's lost 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, whatever it
they're
is, top
all
sack leaders.
They're all 5-star studs that are coming back, and they're all huge and fast and athletic and going to the league. Good luck, kid.
That's a problem, too. And I understand what Ira Shafel tweeted out about, you know, the offense is starting fast and Alabama never scoring below a certain point, threshold, 34, 33, whatever it was. But man, first games of the season are disjointed. And if those defenses on the fields are as advertised, they're going to make you look worse than you already are.
Sure, the defense is always ahead of the offense this time of year. Now you've got two loaded defenses, loaded in the sense of 4- and 5-star kids everywhere. You would think that they would carry the day. The only way, again, that this gets out of hand in favor of Alabama is if that defense is on the field too much for Florida State, because that offense can't move the ball, can't block it up, creates, again, too many possessions and too many short fields.
The only place we're thin, though, on defense, and I, you know, even though we only run 2 guys out there.
Linebacker is what you're going to say.
Yeah, I just love how many players we have at the defensive front, on the defensive front, I should say, to be able to weather the storm of, on a given Saturday, you have to be out there for 35 minutes. That sucks. That you know, your chances of winning aren't great. But if we were ever going to have a year where that were the case, or a game where that were the case, this is the kind of defense that you need with this much depth up front, that you can be able to spell your guys and still stay somewhat fresh into the fourth quarter. I think we can weather that type of storm if Alabama wants to play field time of possession football.
It's a fun sort of deal because you've got a lot of hybrid guys. If you want to group them into that list of linebackers, Tom, you know, obviously we got Matthew Thomas back, and you can look at a guy like Hoskins, or you can look at Dontavius Jackson, who I like a lot.
Sure, Emmett Rice, too.
Emmett Rice as well. But, of course, you got other guys that they're not necessarily linebackers like a Josh Brown or a Jacob Pugh, but they kind of are, you know. I mean, so you got guys that are, you know, that kind of utility.
And Adonis Thomas comes in.
Sure. So I mean, hell, Purifoy. I mean, you can go on and on with the guys,
Sure.
right? So is that a strong suit? No, not when compared to our defensive ends, our defensive tackles, and our secondary. There has to be a weaker unit on the field. Every great defense has a unit that's better than another, or a segment. So linebackers wouldn't be our strongest segment, but are they going to be a hindrance? Are they going to be a liability? I'm not prepared to say that. I don't think so. I think we're in a pretty good place there. I don't think they're a liability. The starters, I don't think, are a liability. We haven't been good at that position in a while, though. It'd be nice to have a year where you feel like linebacker play is good, not just adequate, but good.
Yeah, plus player.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to Telvin.
Well, and that was awesome.
But I'm serious. Don't you think? I mean, don't you have to go back to Telvin? Right?
Sure. Well, think about again. It's a play. So I grant you, it's a play. But think about the play that Matthew Thomas makes in the Orange Bowl. In the
against Michigan, yeah.
The kind of signal that you can send, the kind of feel that play. I mean, they're inside the 10-yard line. They're going in to score, and you're not so sure how this game's going to play out.
Man ain't having it.
No, and that. You know, I talk about defensive line setting the tone. Yeah, linebackers can too. We don't have to always
rely on. There was a time, buddy, where we were linebacker U.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we were. And we've produced some of the best of all time, including Derek Brooks, who is arguably one of the best linebackers to ever play both college and pro football. I'd like to get back to a time where we're in the neighborhood, where I can look out there. I don't have to see Marvin Jones, but I got to see somebody that can really play. And, you know, this fan base has a 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you approach to our current linebacker coach. This year could be pivotal for him. This year would be, in fact, Tom, unlike what I was saying about the head coach, this would be a referendum. I'm going to need you not to suck for the first time in a while. Bill. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Open daily for breakfast at 7 a.m. all the way until 8 p.m. They proudly serve Lucky Goat coffee, along with espresso, cappuccinos, lattes, and more. Why not choose healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner made just for you? Canal Street Crepe has just added soups, plus grab-and-go mason jar salads, along with a full line of Zapp's chips. Catering is available. Canal Street Crepe Company, 1304 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-0378.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility, says it's summertime, and summertime is the time to go green and save energy. Here are a few simple things you can do right now that will save energy while you try to keep out of the summer heat. First thing, get your air conditioner checked out and change your air filters. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how much energy and money you can save. Going away from home on vacation? Why not purchase a programmable thermostat to regulate your air conditioner while you're not at home? Talk about an investment that'll pay energy savings dividends. Make an appointment right away for a free energy audit from the City of Tallahassee Utilities. You never know how much energy you can save until you do it. The City of Tallahassee is offering insulation grants. Why not apply for one? Did you know that the City of Tallahassee offers loans to help with the purchase of solar water heaters? Visit talgov.com/YOU for information on loans and rebates. So stay cool, go green, and save energy all summer long. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility.
Just announced. During the Ford Summer Sales Event, get a Ford F-150 with 0% financing for 60 months, plus an additional $1,000 on top of your trade-in. It's summer's hottest deal on the award-winning Built Ford Tough F-150. Take on summer right with Ford, America's best-selling brand, and save big on the Ford F-150. Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 on top of your trade-in. Hurry into the summer sales event, going on now only at your Ford dealer. Best selling based on 2016 sales. Not all buyers qualify for Ford credit financing. 60 months at $1,667 per month per $1,000 financed regardless of down payment. Trade Assist Cash requires trade-in of 95 or newer vehicle, or lease terminated 30 days prior to or 90 days after delivery. Not available on Raptor. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for complete details. Take new delivery from dealer stock by July 5th, 2017.
Wonder what the outrageously energizing experience of Mountain Dew Kickstart is like? Well, it's like a combo of 3 awesome things. Dew, juice, and caffeine, rebooting your entire personal operating system.
Mountain Dew Kickstart is in position for consumption. All systems cleared for launch. Initiate launch sequence. T-minus 3, 2, 1, mark. Release the Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mountain Dew Kickstart released. Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now.
Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful.
You are now off the couch and out exploring the world.
Roger that.
Get charged up for what's coming next anytime, anywhere with Mountain Dew Kickstart. Available in 10 energizing flavors like mango lime, raspberry citrus, midnight grape, and orange citrus. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Fuel with flavor.
RCD Shell knows how to keep you cool and refreshed. All 20-ounce Pepsi and Mountain Dew products are 2 for $2.22. That's right, 2 for $2.22. And 28-ounce Gatorade is buy one, get one free. It's more fun with Pepsi and Dew, so bring on the bubbles with these cool prices at RCD Shell.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I just like being able to say, because I said it last hour, but I'll say it again here. In 29 days, a football game is played. It's going to happen. It's not a very exciting football game, but it's a football game that's played. And I know every year at this time, I get a glimpse of a story that has that nugget in it. And I always go, holy hell, football's only 29 days away. That's awesome. And then 29 days go by, and I sit down to watch the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, and I go, this game sucks. Probably 30 seconds into it, I go, man, was I pumped for football. This is awful, unwatchable awful. What's on over here? Oh, baseball. But right now, it feels pretty good to say we're 29 days away from a football game being played. I get it. The logical part of me is like, Jeff, you don't even like that football game. That game stinks every year, and every year you fall victim to this same damn feeling about how excited you are regarding a football game that always turns out to suck. Why are you going to do that again? Because I need to do that. I need this. Let me do this. You do it too. We'll all do it together. We'll all do it knowing damn well that game's going to stink. It always does. But it provides temporary relief.
Okay, so we should have a long-form discussion about the psychology involved in...
It's pretty interesting.
You know, okay, I'm going to let myself lie to myself, even though I know that I'm lying to myself.
Every day we do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's a great example where you're totally aware. Sometimes...
Yeah, maybe you're not aware you're lying to yourself in most cases.
We don't want to know if we are.
Right.
You know,
yes.
I don't want to really revisit that or uncover this thing because the answer I like won't be pretty. It's a... You know, it reveals a flaw in me. You're saying, oh, I know. Oh, I know that game's going to be garbage.
I know damn well that game's not going to be watchable, and I can't wait to watch it.
But somehow that 29 number, it really just...
Well, because it's less than a month. It's a little bit like why they price things at $9.99 instead of $10. I got it. I understand. It's okay. You got me. It's a look. It's an aesthetic.
I'm a little bit different. I'd prefer it just be 10, you know? It just...
Not me, Tom.
Oh, $9.99, it's that cent that drives you...
No, I know that makes no sense. But it's less than $10 is a fun thing to say. Just as I like to say, it's less than a month until the start of football.
Sure. Okay, an example in high school, if you wanted to get a soda or a water, a 20-ounce bottle, it was $1.10. Like, really? And that's after tax. It was like, really, $1.10? I'd rather pay $1.25.
Me too.
It just doesn't feel right. That
I don't like it either. Yeah. I'm with you. Mm-hmm. But I know 29 days from right now, the Hall of Fame game will be played, which means, see, this is the other reason, and I'm going to delve deeper into the psychology here because it's not the game. The game, as we just noted, is largely garbage every year. It looks like they haven't played football in over 6 months. But for there to be a game, there have to have been practices beforehand, which means players reported to camp at a certain time, which is a lot closer than 29 days from right now. And that is exciting because of what it represents, not because of the product it'll produce for that game. But when they tell you in 2 weeks, 14 days, that a camp has opened and that players are practicing in pads, actively preparing themselves for our beloved football to be played, no matter how poor the brand of football that will be played in 29 days is, it is still representative of the fact that football is returning a lot sooner than you realized perhaps when you woke up this morning. Because in a couple of weeks, somebody's reporting to camp, and they're sitting at home right now dreading that because football's hard and practice sucks. But we're not playing, so that's all right. And it's only 2 weeks from now. Ooh. See what I did there?
Yeah, there's a glimmer in your eye.
I went from telling you we're 29 days away from the start of football, which is amazing in and of itself, to really saying, hey, man, a little over a week. Little over a week.
Be a hell of a car salesman. I swear. You would be a really good car salesman.
I briefly was, but a little over a week, my man. We are talking about, and that's true. That's not just a fancy misrepresentation. That's accurate.
In some ways, yes.
Yes, in ways that matter. To us, the football star fan, those that are salivating.
I'm on the heels of admitting and being ridiculed for yesterday watching some football on the SEC network, Arkansas and Florida. And so I'll allow you a second opportunity. I admitted to this on the air last year, but I really enjoyed the presentation when SportsCenter went to a joint practice between the Jags and the Bucks, and they would show the drills that the players went through. And I sat there as they were doing their coverage, and I watched a good 45 minutes of that practice. I'm ready. When you talk about practice, that's what I think of. I think, oh, man, I hope they do some more joint practices on SportsCenter because I'll actually watch that. I'll enjoy that. I am that guy. I want to see how these players prepare. I want to see what a practice looks like. Hell, Lord knows we never get to see it here in Tallahassee. No, it's not even. I didn't even use that, to prop up and take a shot at Jimbo. We get the open practice on media day, and that's it.
Yeah.
I am that football starved. My baseball team sucks. I need these practices. I need SportsCenter to go on the road.
I don't like watching football practice.
You lived it.
Yeah, I did, and they're hard. They're not fun. You endure them so that you're able to play in the game, which is fun. And I always hated the guy, and maybe that's why I could have never been great, but I hated the guy that loved practice. It's not like it's a musical instrument. That is fun because you feel like you're getting better and you can hear it. You're like, okay, yesterday I couldn't play this. Today I can play this. I have figured it out, chord progression, whatever it is. I can do this. Football practice, man, so grueling, so ruthless, and it doesn't necessarily portend of a result in a game or even the feeling you're going to have when you're playing in a game. Yes, it's necessary to help get the desired result, but it doesn't, it's not that rewarding on a Tuesday the way that learning a new song would be.
So what you're saying is you would have hated Jameis Winston. Did I hear
well,
that
no,
right?
I need my quarterback to love it in an unhealthy way. But the guys that I'm blocking or tackling, I don't need you to love it. We need to have an understanding.
Yeah, you're going ones versus twos.
Right.
I don't need
Ain't
that
nobody
second
out
string.
here trying to get hurt on a Tuesday, man. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't need that second string H-back to be
who decides?
all in
yeah,
on cutting me.
Yeah, he's decided he's Earl Campbell today. We got to do this, really? No, I mean that you always had that guy in the Oklahoma drill who was really excited. Come on, man. I get it. There's a time and a place. There's a time to get it on. There's a time where, and both parties usually know when that is. Proving yourself, position battle. Hey, if you're ever going one-on-one with a guy who's fighting for a job, you better strap it up because he ain't going light. But you got two starters. Come on, man. You know and I know. That guy's not taking my job, and there's nobody taking yours. We don't have to kill each other. That guy's fighting for a job. Damn, he's going to come after it. All right. And you just know that's the way it is. Everybody gets it. But my quarterback has to always really love football, and he has to be kind of insane about it. He has to kind of mirror the head coach's love for football because you better love football if you're a coach because that's all you do.
I wonder what the weirdest text message is, and clean one, but just football related, from a quarterback to a player, like the middle of the night. You think Peyton Manning texted, like Demaryius Thomas at 2 in the morning?
I think Jameis texts freaking Evans and those guys all the time.
You
Humphreys.
realize what you did on 2nd and 10 in short yardage today? It's 2:37 a.m.
Jameis, I'm sleeping. I know you're watching film on your iPad, and I'm glad that you are. I'll talk to you tomorrow or in about 3 hours when we show up to camp. Yeah, I like that my quarterback has to do that. My outside linebacker doesn't.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Comes to live gaming excitement, Creek Entertainment Gretna is your hometown headquarters. With live poker and simulcast race betting, you've got more winning opportunities right here close to home. Plus, we now offer 3-card poker and Pai Gow in our card room. Satisfy big appetites at Stables, featuring hot and cold sandwiches, salads, and weekend specials. There's always something exciting going on at Creek Entertainment Gretna, I-10 exit 174, Gretna, Florida.
Go check out the brand new and recently remodeled Canal Street Crepe Company on Monroe, formerly known as Crepefine. Locally owned with Cru de Gras and open daily for breakfast at 7 a.m. all the way until 8 p.m., they proudly serve Lucky Goat coffee, along with espresso, cappuccinos, lattes, and more. Why not choose healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner made just for you? Canal Street Crepe has just added soups, plus grab-and-go mason jar salads, along with a full line of Zapp's chips. Catering is available. Canal Street Crepe Company, 1304 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-0378.
Hey, Wally Woodham here. In 1974, I set the national high school passing record at Leon High with 3,560 yards.
Jimmy Jordan here. Wally, I broke your passing record at Leon the very next year.
Well, Jimmy, in our 3 years together at FSU, I threw for 22 touchdown passes.
Wally, that's pretty good, but I had 39.
Well, Jimmy, look at the deal I got at AAA Transmission.
That's a pretty good deal, Wally. At least your car's a winner.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop in at AAA Transmission and ask for owner Tim Pridgeon, servicing Tallahassee for over 30 years. AAA Transmission, 1023 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-2532.
Here's the scoop on garden soil. Sometimes it needs a little help from the Home Depot, where bags of Miracle-Gro garden soil are a special buy, 4 for just $10. It improves existing soil with nutrients plants need for stronger roots, so they'll hit the ground running, starting with much better ground. Miracle-Gro garden soil, 4 bags, $10. Now at the #1 retailer for Scott's Miracle-Gro, the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through July 5th while supplies last. Contiguous U.S. only. Limit 80 per customer.
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard filter for $21.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and save money with 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard filter for $21.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Customers constantly tell us that they're getting several estimates to compare apples to apples. You ever bite into an apple and find out the inside is rotten? Cheap roofing quotes are just like that rotten apple. Quote looks shiny and delicious because it's the cheapest, right? But you wind up with that rotten apple that leaks or starts to fail immediately. All roofing quotes are not equal. Cheap estimates equal cheap materials, subpar labor, or both. For quality that lasts, call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Hey, this is Clay Culpepper with Miller's Tree Service. Summertime is here and storm season is right around the corner. We offer free consultations with a certified arborist where we meet with you and advise you on which trees are healthy, diseased, dead, or ones that may need trimming or even removal.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Give us a call at 894-TREE.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Yeah, so let's revisit this because we said we would. Briefly, before I get to this other thing. How long were you gone? 2-3 days?
Yeah. I was gone 4 days.
All right, 4 days.
It was supposed to be 3, but yeah, 4.
How many bags did you pack?
1.
Oh, 1 bag? All right.
Yeah.
You and your girlfriend just threw both 1 bag. But
No, me, just personally 1 bag.
1 bag.
There were 2 bags total.
So there were 2 bags total.
And a purse. Not mine.
But just laundry? So it's just laundry.
Yeah.
There weren't any other items. Like you didn't have to.
No.
See, when you have kids, you think about these things. Sorry, I forgot. I mean, it's like you have to bring all these other things to keep them occupied, or especially if they're really young.
No, I mean,
just a bag with clothes.
Bag with clothes.
Toiletries.
Yeah.
That are vital to your nightly.
The toiletries
process?
came in though. Toiletries did come in.
All right. Well, that's critical. Okay. I guess I can't get after you here.
You weren't taking sides, but you were going to come after me.
Well, I always take a side. You can't not take a side. I I've become bring your bags in guy. I don't know if that's because kids won't ever, but I'm of the mindset to complete the relaxing process after a lengthy drive. It cannot happen until stuff is put away properly. Those bags need to go back to their homes, whether that's a closet or underneath your bed, whatever it might be. Wherever they live, they need to return. And those clothes need to be in the dirty laundry hamper, perhaps even started in a load, if you will.
Well, yeah.
And certainly deodorant, toothbrush, and the like need to be back in the bathroom.
No, I agree. The toiletries were where they were, but this was, again, I packed for a couple of days, but then we did a load of laundry up.
While you were already there?
Yeah, and, if it was a 7-day trip.
I think you're fair there. That's fine.
Okay, when I come home from Canada.
If you have a multitude of bags, you need to bring them in.
When I come home from Canada, the bags are coming in.
They got to come in.
No, it's just yesterday, we had driven probably about 10 hours over the course of 3 days.
You're just done.
Get me in the freaking house,
Well, I will allow for this because after a long drive, and let me share this with the fine audience that listens to the Jeff Cameron Show, I had a nightmarish experience on my way back from my vacation. The plan for the Camerons was to fly to Baltimore, BWI, fly there, and then drive back. And there was a method to the madness. The thought was, because I'm bringing my 9-year-old son and my 7-year-old son, they had never flown before. And really, in terms of big cities, they've been to Tampa and Atlanta and Miami and Orlando and Jacksonville. That's about it. They'd been to Knoxville, which isn't that big a city. But they've never really been outside this region. This was their first trek towards the north, if you will. And they'd never been in a city the size of D.C. or Baltimore. I guess Atlanta is, certainly. But anyhow, the point would be I wanted them to experience the flight and all the fun that comes with it. And so we thought, all right, we'll rent a car on the way back, and we'll make it a 2-day trek back after staying 5 to 6 days in the Baltimore, D.C. area. And then we'll stay in Charleston, South Carolina, which is the halfway point from D.C., just about. So, because when you got kids, it's hard to drive much more than 6 to 7 hours. They start flipping out. Then you start flipping out. Then you want to, you might say or do something you regret. And so you kind of, because they get stir crazy in the car.
Oh, it's contagious, yes.
Very difficult.
Stir crazy is contagious.
Well, and it's also maddening because when your kids don't listen, when you say, stop hitting each other, stop putting your hands on your brother, stop, and they don't, and you can see it in the rearview mirror, and maybe you're stressed out because of traffic or weather, and that continues, it doesn't take much for you to slap a kid in the leg. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't take much.
Or yell at the top of your lungs,
right.
Gosh darn it, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah. Now, and I don't like to do that. I don't want to do that. I just know that it's a possibility. So I want to remove that, right? So I say, all right, we'll rent a car and we'll drive to Charleston. The Lexington is there. There's great history in Charleston. It's the only good thing about South Carolina. So I thought, all right, well, at least we get to show them that. And then we can drive back to Florida and we'll divide the trip. Well, I had a misstep. My misstep was this. Because you can rent you can rent a car. If you go like through AAA in the airport, you can rent a car for like $20 to go to wherever you're flying out of in the state.
Yeah, especially if it's a weekday.
Yeah, it's just like
$17 to put you in a nice car.
It's crazy,
It's
right?
a one-way travel. Yeah.
I one-wayed over to Destin, Fort Walton. That's where we flew out of because I got an unbelievable deal. So I thought, all right, so it was like $28.
Great deal, the best kind of deal.
So we drove from Tallahassee's airport to Fort Walton, and we flew out of there. So I figured, well, it's pretty cheap to get a one-way rental. Man, I called to get the rental to leave D.C.
Oh, you didn't have it lined up?
No.
Oh.
It's the only thing I didn't have lined up.
Oh, buddy.
I didn't have it lined up. And it was 4th of July weekend, basically. Everybody was turning this into a long weekend, right?
Oh, it's a holiday. Oh, buddy.
Holiday. Well, they considered it. It's BS. The holiday was on a Tuesday. It's not on a Sunday or a Saturday, but they screw you with the rates. So I call, and they go, Mr. Cameron, we have found you a vehicle at Reagan, and you can pick it up tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., and you're all good to go. And I go, all right, what's that going to run me? And she goes, $598. All right. I kind of paused for a second. I said,
Holy Jesus.
Certainly that's a mistake, ma'am. I rented a car to drive over to Destin for $20. $598 seems egregious, but excessive. There's not something better, say, away from Reagan? And they said, well, hold on, let's check some more. So they did some more checking. Long story short, I've called all around, and the best rate I could get was $598. Like the first rate was the best rate.
Oh.
I actually had a guy quote me $700. I said, well, I'll just fly the family back. At $700, what are we doing? I'll pay $1,000 and we'll be home in an hour. So as it turned out, part of my problem was the rates. Part of my problem was that I wanted to take it over the course of 2 days. And so she said, well, this lady comes on and she goes, well, sir, if you want to drive straight back from D.C. to Tallahassee, you can get one for $200.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So now,
you did it, did you?
Okay, I did it. But here's the thing. So I'm measuring this in my mind. That's a $400 savings because basically it was $600.
Oh, yeah.
$400. That's not $50.
Yeah, for the
that's
stress.
That's not nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the $400 dance.
Opportunity cost.
Yes, I'm doing that. And I'm thinking, all right, you got to get in the right mindset. You got to find patience way down deep, places you don't know it exists. You got to reach down into the cockles and get some patience.
Or a lot of weed.
But that's illegal. And so I thought, what do? I find that patience. I meditate on this tonight. I get up in the morning and I drive my family back to Tallahassee. So I went to the bar at the night before, and I had a beer, and I watched baseball. This is after the kids had fallen asleep. We had a full day in D.C. They'd gone to the Nats game. We watched them choke and lose to the Cubs. We had this. It was interesting, the whole thing, right? But they're out cold. My wife's in the shower. I go down to the hotel bar. I have a beer. I want to be rested. I don't want to be crazy, but just a beer. It was a very delicious beer. Anyhow, me and the bartender, we talked, and he helped me get in the right place.
World needs plenty of bartenders.
Absolutely. And I went to bed, and I slept on it, and I got up, and I said, okay, let's go, kids. We're not stopping in Charleston, South Carolina. I apologize. You'll have to learn about that fine city another day. We're going to go all the way to Tallahassee, and it's going to be the worst day of your life. And they kind of looked at me and said, it is. What do you want me to do? I'm being honest. Let's all help each other be good. Let's all find a way to find the patience necessary for a 12-hour drive from D.C. to Tallahassee, except for it wasn't 12 hours. It turned out to be 16 and a half.
I was going to say, what kind of highway are you on?
Oh, I can get home in 12 hours. I've done it.
To D.C.?
Yes, 12 to 13. Yeah, I can do it. Here's the problem. We ended up on I-95 in crazy traffic. Everybody's splitting town to get out to go to the beaches, Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks and Myrtle Beach, wherever the hell they're going. So I'm stuck in this traffic. We haven't moved. We're barely out of D.C. bumper to bumper.
Forgive me, it is a 12-and-a-half-hour drive according to Google Maps.
I've done it.
You could probably get us there in 11.
Yes, if it's just me and I don't have the kids in the car.
Kids, yeah.
If I don't have the kids, I might get there at 9.
If the ACC meetings were there.
That's right.
So, yeah, you get us
we'd
there.
be home.
Yeah.
The ACC meetings could be in Mexico. I'd get us there in 6 hours. I'm not having it when it's just our fate that's in play.
Sure.
But so anyhow, long story short, it took me 16 hours. I ended up having to get off of I-95. I'm using my Waze. I'm trying to go all these backcountry roads in places that surely the Klan owns. I'm thinking the Cameron family's going to go missing. It's going to be on, America's Unsolved Mysteries or whatever. And they're going to be like, what happened to the Cameron family? They left D.C. They were lost. We found them in a swamp 6 years later. I thought it was awful.
The Klan would be okay with you, though.
I don't think so. I'm forward thinking.
Well, I mean, no.
I wouldn't reveal that to them.
Yeah, exactly. They just look at you and say, yeah, go ahead.
That's right, fellas. Can you help a fellow white man get home? So anyhow, as it turned out, what I did was I found all these back ways. I was, between the weather and the lack of lamps and street lights and numbers for roads, I've seen America's butt crack. It is not, I'm telling you now, those are not good places. It is a scary place to be.
They get worse than Chiefland?
They do. They get a lot worse than Chiefland. Chiefland looks like a metropolis compared to some of these places I was at. I'm like, is Waze on crack? honey, pull up your AAA map or go to Google Maps. What are they saying? What do you have here? She's like, well, they say this road takes us over to Cheyenne, and Cheyenne takes us over to Mississippi, and Mississippi takes us over to Uncle Fred's Road. There's Chicken Head Road. Then you got to cut over here. It was crazy. Literally, those are the names of the roads. I'm like, what the hell? We're going from Cheyenne to Chicken Head? So we ended up making it, and I pulled in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was strong. My wife had the nerve to ask me after we get into Florida. Kids are out cold. They were, by the way, they were angels. Cherubs. They were wonderful.
So you set expectations, and that's what you got in return.
Oh, it was incredible. I was so proud of them. I still am.
Parenting tips brought to you by.
I get into the state of Florida. Now, we're still a good ways away because where we ended up cutting in is by Savannah. You still got a long way to go. But just being in the damn state, I've never been so happy to see the state of Florida in all my life, by the way. Never.
So you've walked away from this trip a better American with a more appreciation for your country.
That's correct.
And now you love the state of Florida in a way you didn't prior.
I appreciate it a little bit more. I don't know. So I get in, and we're on the home stretch. We're getting closer and closer to Lake City and all that. And she goes, do you want to pull over? This is clearly the mindset of a woman.
For what?
And not a man. She thinks I'm tired. Maybe we should take a break. Are you on crack? I have driven us from Washington, D.C. through the most god-awful nooks and crannies this country has to offer into the state of Florida, and you want to pull over now? I said, the GD Sun will be coming up with my hands on this wheel. We are getting to Tallahassee. I am promising you that. We are not pulling over. Do I want to pull over? Have you lost your mind?
Yeah, she's been in a car for 15 hours with you.
But see, no man would ever ask another man to pull. They get it. At this point, you have flipped a switch. We are in another place.
You've got to be a manager in that situation, and you got to take the ball if you're going to take the ball. Because I can tell you, I drove home from Clemson. It was the Labor Day game. I guess that was, we're playing up there this year. So it's probably 09, 07, that's what it was. Anyway, the year doesn't matter. I'm driving us straight back from the game.
Oh, yeah.
Monday is over. The game's over. It's
Boom.
11 o'clock.
Got to get
11
back.
o'clock. Yep. I'm driving all the way back from Clemson.
You get locked in.
Straight shot. But we get to right around I-10.
Which is hell on earth, by the way. There's nothing to look at.
Oh, yeah. No, I just mean the interchange. So we're coming in from Thomasville, and we're right by I-10. And I start to kind of doze a little bit.
Oh.
At a stoplight. And they took the ball. They said, Tom,
you've
done
taking the ball.
an incredible job.
Yeah. You got to go.
You can't go the distance here. 27 outs are just not in the cards for you today, but you gave us 24 beautiful outs. Now sit your ass in the back seat and go take a nap. You got to take the ball in that situation if you're in Christie's situation.
It hurt you, though, because nobody wants to come out of that game.
The sun was up, man.
Nobody wants to come out of that game.
No, I took a straight shot. After a loss, man.
I started getting a little hazy, but that's a 10-2. Put the hands at 10-2.
Oh, it's 10-2 time.
I went 10-2. For the last hour of the trip, I went 10-2. I drove like I was 84 years old and lost. 10-2. I was close to rolling down the windows and singing Alice in Chains songs. Just anything to keep me going. I'm doing whatever to occupy my mind.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough like a a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Professional every time, stay safe and dry inside.
Customers constantly tell us that they're getting several estimates to compare apples to apples. You ever bite into an apple and find out the inside is rotten? Cheap roofing quotes are just like that rotten apple. Quote looks shiny and delicious because it's the cheapest, right? But you wind up with that rotten apple that leaks or starts to fail immediately. All roofing quotes are not equal. Cheap estimates equal cheap materials, subpar labor, or both. For quality that lasts, call us at 656-8112.
Harper Brothers Roofing, professional every time, stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan in Tallahassee. Thank you for last month and getting us to our quarterly sales objective. But just when you thought it was over, Nissan Corporate has come back to say we're carrying all incentives over again through July 17th. These incentives are crazy big. $3,000 off MSRP on all, not one or some, but all Versa sedans and Notes, Sentras, and Frontiers. $4,000 off on all Rogues. $5,000 off MSRP on all Muranos. $6,000 off all Altimas, from the S model to the SL model. All, and $7,000 off MSRP on all Maximas. Seriously, at Kraft Nissan, we have people that come in looking for a used vehicle and switch to a new Nissan for less money per month because of the huge discounts and 0% interest for 72 months. At Kraft Nissan, we're not kidding. You owe it to yourself to just come in and try us on. I promise you, you won't be disappointed, and you will go home in a new Nissan at an unbelievable price and a low payment. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. We have over 400 new Nissans in stock.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's way too early to worry about decommitments, but when it's the brother of former Florida State running back Dalvin Cook, it does raise an eyebrow. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, Florida State lost out on James Cook on Tuesday afternoon. The younger brother of Florida State's all-time leading rusher announced his decommitment via Twitter. Florida State redshirt senior Alex Powers was named the 2017 ACC Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year and also headlines the All-ACC academic team. A lot of moving and shaking in the NBA free agency in overload. Gordon Hayward leaves Utah, takes his talents to the Celtics for $30+ million a year. And today, the LA Clippers have acquired Denver Nuggets free agent Danilo Gallinari, a 3-year, $65 million deal. And also, the Miami Heat have parted ways with Chris Bosh, but Pat Riley says they will retire the number 1, and no one will ever be able to wear it again in Heat history.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always. Don't miss anything. But if you do, remember this, all 3 hours to be posted upon the conclusion of the program, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. That's all brought to you with a limited commercial interruption thanks to our great podcast sponsor, CarltonDean.com, and the fine folks at Southland Commercial. Ways to make money in commercial real estate, income-producing properties, off-market deals, all exist. Go to CarltonDean.com. Email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter, @JCameronShow, WTSM app good for mobile devices, and it should be noted that you can find us as well on YouTube. If you type in ESPN Tallahassee, you'll find the feed. Subscribe to that. You're good to go. You can watch us. Sometimes it's actually easier than streaming us, depending on where you are, what you're doing, all that good stuff. But lots of ways to keep up with the show. Speaking of which, good to be back. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys had a great 4th. And obviously, I've been gone over a week, and we come back, and we're starving for football. We're ready for football. That's what we are. And, we've turned the corner. We've turned the proverbial corner, man. It's happened.
Yeah, I was remarking over the weekend, talking about football season coming and all that.
Mm-hmm.
2015, entering that season after 29 straight and losing to Oregon in the Rose Bowl, you just knew that there was going to be too much to overcome, too much to ask to make a playoff run. That was going to be a reboot year.
So expectations were real low. Yeah.
It's going to be a reboot year. Let's take a look at some of these segments here and there and see if there's any growth, something that gives us hope for 2016 and forward. And there was. There were some good parts to that season. Certainly, you swept your rivals again.
Yeah, beat Miami. That's on the regular, though.
Yeah, beat Florida, and they scored 2 points, but we gave them their 2 points.
2.
Down in Gainesville. And
they didn't score 2 points.
Last year, within the first month of the season was over against expectations.
They were awarded 2 points.
They were awarded 2 points.
Sorry, yes.
But
you're
last
right.
year, and we had those expectations. I'm not going to lie and say that I wasn't excited for the season. I mean, we go to the ACC meetings, which you're going to next week in Charlotte.
I will be there.
And Jimbo is as happy as a clam. He is ready to go.
I don't think he's going to be happy when I'm there next week. I don't think so.
Just a hunch?
I've got a hunch. It's a suspicion of mine. I think he's going to be in an ornery mood. I think he's going to be, I don't know about contentious. I'm not trying to paint the man as angry before the season even begins. But we said it in the first hour. We alluded to it last hour, and I'll mention it again here this hour. I think it's an important year for him and his staff and for this team. And I'm not saying it and I want to reiterate this again because it always gets taken or misconstrued, especially for people that kind of tune in, tune out, and maybe hear what they want. It's not a referendum. He's done a good job here. He's done a very good job here. He was the right hire at the right time. He's won a national championship. He restored the program back to greatness. There's no doubt. But I do think we're far enough removed now from Jameis Winston's time here and what an elite player he was, as we all saw, a national champion, a Heisman Trophy winner, and the number 1 pick in the draft, that people will begin to ask questions if we don't see a similar level of success without a player of that caliber at quarterback. People begin to ask, well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be as fair to say that he's Gene Chizik, but people will begin to ask those kinds of questions.
Yeah, I see where
I'm just talking about what is.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying whether it's fair or not. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
No, that's what's going to happen. And I think those people would be woefully undervaluing what Jimbo is.
Because of the recruiting he does on the defensive side of the ball, the amount of successes and what he's built on the whole and brought to this program, sure. But that's the kind of discussion or talking point that happens the further removed we get from the Jameis Winston-led team that won the title and went back to the playoffs the next year.
I totally yes. I think they'd be woefully undervaluing him. However, there's two sides to every coin, and I'd say if we find a way to lose a game like Georgia Tech or the North Carolina game last year, or Virginia at home, or NC State 2012, Wake off a bye. Yeah, there are some choices there, aren't there?
Too many.
Yeah. If we lose another one of those, then there's also a lot of reason to be critical, and that's fair. You can say that he is one of the 5 best coaches in college football right now for what he brings, total package.
And then you would start to ask the question, Tom, how is it possible that a top 5 coach has too many examples like the ones we just laid out in which inexplicably they lost to a team that, without question, without debate, had less talent?
Parity can only go so far to answer that because it can happen once every few years.
Sure.
Absolutely, it can happen.
Sure.
You can have a 5-turnover day. See Alabama, Ole Miss a couple of years ago.
It happens, right?
These things will happen, but do they have to happen every year or most every year?
Well, and that's why I say the conversation will shift in a direction that certainly he wouldn't like. No coach wants to hear that said about him, and at times would be completely unfair. But we're talking about college football where everybody's got an opinion, where everybody's going to weigh in on every player, every coach, every season, every program. And it's part of the fun. It's part and parcel to what it is. College football, it's what's embraced. It's by the fans, by the media, and by the players and coaches alike. This is something that we all can engage in and have a discussion about and disagree on. And there are blurred lines, and at times there are things that get taken too far, surely, when you're in the midst of that conversation. But I do believe it will turn in that direction. That's why I say it's an important season. It's not a referendum. He's done a good job. It's just an important season because they are coming off a year where they had one of the worst losses in program history. A humiliating affair that lingers even to now. And you do have a high-profile game, the biggest first game of the year, some would argue, in college football history. It's, everybody likes to do that.
It's up there, no doubt, though.
But, I mean, sweet Jesus, we are talking about preeminent programs along with Ohio State and a couple of others. I guess you're going to have to start putting Clemson on the list.
No choice.
No. But you're gonna say, look, man, these are heavyweights. Where are you at? This is a measuring stick. So you got that game. And you got a road game against Clemson. You always have the 2 games against your rival in Miami and Florida and streaks to uphold there. If things are to go awry and you don't look good in the heavyweight fight against Alabama and you lose to a Louisville for the second time in 2 years and then become kind of an also-ran in your division, if you're third tier in your division, that's unacceptable. Nobody will accept that. That's a talking point that would be worthy and right to have on a daily basis. So don't let that happen. Well, when you say things like that, that by definition is pressure. You're putting pressure on people to obviously reach a certain level of success, and the expectation, I think, starts there, that you win your division and that you go to the ACC championship and win it, and that you are a contender for the college football playoff. And I don't think that's unreasonable. Losses, as we are fond of saying, happen for a reason. We have to see how things play out. You can never guess about injuries. It changes the narrative. It changes the conversation when we witness these things. But I think he knows that. Back to my original point. I think anybody in his position who observe everything and are aware of their place in college football history, they're aware of their status as one of the game's elite coaches, certainly one of the highest paid coaches. And I think that they use it as fuel. They use it as motivation. They use it as a means to motivate themselves. He's a self-motivated man. He doesn't really need it, but it adds to the fire. And I think that all adds up to pressure and probably a level of intensity coupled with what he was last year, which was loosey-goosey, as you were just noting, really confident, felt excited for the season, only to have it kind of blow up in his face early on. That defense was woefully ill-prepared to take on Ole Miss. They were completely out of place right off the bat. They get a hero's performance at quarterback from a young man who has to wear a beating.
Making his debut.
And you find a way to overcome the ridicule and embarrassment that would have occurred had that second half gone like the first. But it was a window into future problems. And then, obviously, Louisville happened and North Carolina happened at home, and all these things occurred. And so I think he feels the pressure to obviously respond to that, to bounce back. He put his trust in a defensive coordinator that many people questioned when he hired and are certainly going to go into this season looking at with a John Desai, wondering just how prepared this defense is, because there's no lack of talent there. They're loaded. I just think here we're going to, the ACC meetings are 8 days away. I'll be there. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk to Derwin. I'm going to talk to DeAndre Francois. And I'm going to talk to other people in the ACC. At the very least, I think Jimbo is going to have a very business-like demeanor. Let's just put it that way. At the very least, there's not going to be a lot of joking around. He was in a great mood a year ago, and I enjoyed it because I've seen him that way before, and he's a fun guy, and he's a funny guy, and not everybody gets to see that side of him. But he's also about business, and he's about kicking ass, and he's about being great and chasing greatness, right? Perfection even. Because last year happened the way that it did, I think he probably comes into this year with a different approach and a different mindset.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, Jimbo that we got at the ACC kickoff was completely different than fall camp Jimbo. Because remember, he was talking about toughness and the team lacked it, and, guys went live and all that kind of stuff. He said, he was getting into the society stuff, but the message was completely different. But 3-4 weeks later, you go, whoa, okay. So this team's not tough enough.
Well, he was mad. He didn't like what he saw once the camp started. Yeah, it was.
And that was a theme. It wasn't just he walked off the field one day. He's going to be every emotion under the sun, every camp that he coaches. There's going to be a happy day, a bad day, whatever, everything in between. But that was a theme, and that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there are themes, and little did we know what we were about to see. And it makes me go back to, honestly, I'm thinking about the ACC kickoff in general. Petrino did come into the ACC kickoff last year making declarations.
Oh, he talked about greatness.
That team flamed out, no doubt. But for the first 6 weeks of the season, including a Clemson game that was a really, really tight battle, given that Clemson kind of almost pulled what they do. They weren't quite successful at Clemsoning again, but that ended up being an all-timer of a game in ACC lore. That carried over. That kind of chip on your shoulder identity carried over. They were ready for us. They were ready to play. They were ready to run it up on you every single week.
Well, they were making a statement to the nation and to the ACC that they are now a player to be looked at and reckoned with every single season. And, here's the thing. Petrino can coach. He's a scumbag, and he's made incredibly poor decisions off the field, but he can coach, and nobody's ever questioned that. And for as long as he's there, they're going to recruit. They let everybody in, and they're going to have success. So you now have another name in your division that you have to deal with yearly, and they have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who, frankly, can probably only get better. I don't know if he will. I mean, those numbers are going to be impossible to duplicate, but he could still get better, especially as a passer. And if that happens, I mean, sweet Jesus, the ACC Atlantic will be the king of all divisions.
Well, it'll be the best division in college football history, especially, in a world where I thought 3 years ago no division would be better than the SEC West was in the 2014 season. That was the best division we've ever seen. The hype was real. I mean, I think we can all agree with that, except for the fact that it wasn't.
No.
What's interesting, though, is Jimbo has taken an awful lot of tacks, across the spectrum in the preseason. The ESPN car wash is another chance to observe and see how Jimbo Fisher feels about everything and the state of the program, the identity of his team that he's hearing about, summer workouts, all of that stuff. And there was once a year where he said attitude of domination, and that was in 2014. There was another year where he said, well, win them all, win all your games. And then there are some years where there are years where he's a hard ass, and there are years where he's happy. And it doesn't really seem like it ever holds to be true. What he is in July is going to be who he is all the way through in November and December. So I just wonder, has he figured out in year 7, 8, whatever this is now, has he figured out how to establish an identity in the summer, stick with it through fall camp, and then allow that to be the team's identity for the rest of the year? Because there's been a lot of flip-flop in the past 2 or 3 big-time seasons.
He would tell you that teams do that, and that's the lesson learned, right? Don't project out, I think, if you're him, what you think a team's going to be, because you don't know. And it's not your fault. You kind of can't know until you get out there and we start to watch them practice, and you see who emerges as a leader. You see what the team's personality is like. I mean, I think certainly defensively they're stacked, and you bring back a dominant player who's charismatic and tough and smart in Derwin James, and the defense will take on his personality. So that figures to be one aspect of when you're trying to glean what that personality is. There's a big part of it there. They're good, they're deep, they're talented, they're sizable, and they've got a world-class player on the back end who gets you lined up right and will take your head off. Offensively, I think it's interesting because those are where the question marks lie, but that's also his side of the ball. He's the play caller, he's the quarterback coach, he's the head coach, he's an offensive mind. His quarterback is stoic. His quarterback doesn't say much. His quarterback is talented and tough. Let's see if he takes a step forward. His receivers are also immensely talented. They are, I think, given their age and experience, projected to take a big step forward. We'll see. A lot of pressure on those guys. Talent's there, no doubt. We'll see. Running backs, talented, deep, diversified. It's the offensive line. The personality of that team, oddly enough, could be dictated by the offensive line because the quarterback ain't going to do it. He's a quiet leader. He leads by example, doesn't say a whole hell of a lot. Work ethic is sound. He's going to know the plays. He's going to be tough. He's going to be all those things. So, I'm fascinated. I'm very fascinated about what that identity is on offense. I hope that the offensive line is the one that leads the way in personality and in determining that personality, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. Are they road graders? Are they tough? Are they just better in pass blocking? Then that's a different kind of passivity. I mean, that, you know what I mean? It's
hard to know because they haven't played together. Whatever 5 they're going to be, they haven't played together yet. And so they're going to have to play together in camp to get ready for Alabama. That's a hell of a first test. And then Miami's in week 3 and NC State's week 4.
If they're good against Alabama, by the way.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about specifically the offensive line, regardless of the result. Florida State, for whatever reason, special teams, turnovers, they could lose the game going away, and you might think, oh, well, that's a bad sign. If the offensive line is good against Alabama, I mean, obviously, that will paint the way you see the picture the rest of the way. You'll start talking about a run at the playoffs and a rematch with Alabama, even if the score is lopsided. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying even if it were, if the offensive line plays well.
Yeah, if it plays well, and you define that as you win your fair share of battles.
Yeah, they hold their own. You're able to run the football against Alabama.
Yeah.
If you pass protect a hell of a lot better than you did a year ago against that unit.
Right, but it doesn't mean that you score 40 points. It just means that you win your fair share.
That's right. You win your fair share of battles. You hold your own against a team that, regardless of what Alabama's defense is ranked at the end of this year, it's not devoid of talent. It is blessed with an abundance of 5-star studs. So if this offensive line can hold their own and even win their fair share of battles against that group, obviously that portends of a super season because everything else is in place.
Just to revisit this for one quick second, I guess you're right. You're in a catch-22 position if you're Coach Fisher and you're attending a meeting in the second week of July and you need to make definitive statements about what your team is or isn't. But at the same time, he is also choosing to use terminology like attitude of domination or to say last year, like he said, I haven't gotten the kind of reports that I've gotten from summer workouts since about 2 or 3 seasons ago. He does the math. He knows how long ago that is and what those seasons were.
He knows what he's saying without question. I mean, everything's calculated. But I think, to your question, to what you were saying about what's he learned, I would learn from that maybe those reports aren't always indicative of what my team's personality is going to be or how they play. I mean, I don't think he was lying. I think those players did work well together. They were working hard. I think there were players who were individually improving.
I guess the final point I make is the lesson from last year is don't take what he's saying in July to the bank. Wait until he gets on the practice field because he does give you more tells in camp if you think about it and you revisit it.
Yeah.
Okay, in 2014, remember the big one? The one that you spotted, which was I had to go back and check my notes. You didn't like that in that
hated that. I hated that.
And that was the year of the coronation. We go out, we play in Arlington, and we think, especially the first quarter of that game, we think, well, it's just going to be
from last
it's
year.
going to be another year just like this.
Turned out to be, I did. I told everybody on the beat, man, that's not good. When he's checking notes.
Right. And the warning signs were there, too. You had Ramsey talking at the end about players not preparing and working as hard as they needed to work. And
they were very – I mean, he was dismayed by what he was seeing, and then he had to check those notes because he was basically saying, without saying it, they've been bad to the point I don't remember us being bad. Were we this bad? Did I feel this way last year? Right.
Right. And it wasn't until the middle of October we realized this is just who this team's going to be. Mm-hmm. And they might still be good enough to win the whole thing.
They went undefeated.
Right.
And if they don't turn the football over a gazillion times against Oregon, in particular, if they don't turn the football over in the first drive of the third quarter and Dalvin's going to rush for 200-plus yards, go down and score, take the lead, I think they're playing for the national title. I think they go on to win that game.
Right. And who knows what happens in the national title game. Now, Ohio State had a physical presence that year, but who knows? But all I'm saying is, while it is going to be interesting to see how he is next week and what tact he takes, at the end of the day, it's not about taking stock. Don't take that as gospel, what he says in July.
Yeah, you're saying for the avid Florida State fan who right about now is going to consume everything that he or she can regarding the upcoming football season because we're all starved and we're looking for a hint of what's to come. I agree with you. Don't do that based on what he says at the ACC meetings. But the other part of that was I think his tact will be very businesslike. I don't think he's going to give a lot. I'm just guessing here. But I don't think he's going to give a lot here other than things that he knows. I mean, we know that his quarterback is tough. He will champion that toughness. He knows that his quarterback has a great work ethic and cares very deeply about being great. He'll champion that work ethic. He knows that his defense is talented and it's deep and it's big and he's got its leader back in Derwin James, who's as hard a worker as there is. He'll champion that. I don't think there'll be much else beyond that. He might send a message or two about leadership to Anuni Murray. He might send a message or two to certain guys that he needs to take a step forward.
I'd imagine he'd take the pressure off of a Cam Akers, too, and say, well, Jacques Patrick is a hell of a football player. Something along those lines.
Amir Rasul and guys like that, he'll talk up and say, let's not put – I think you're right.
Those types of tactics, absolutely. Hell, he might even say something, because sometimes he'll get outlandish. Like, Derwin James, we always talk about Heismans. as offensive players, but maybe start something along those lines. Just keep the conversation over here.
Yeah,
distractions are tactics too.
Yeah, he'll put pressure on people who can handle the pressure. He'll put people in a position who can handle those questions and the expectations that come with it. He'll deflect that direction. Sure, intriguing year. I think what we're saying is this all sets up, to me, as somebody who's covering this, again, attempting to remove fandom here, and we don't hide from our knollness, if you will, but in the effort to be transparent, certainly people know that's the angle, but also we try real hard to be objective about what a team is or isn't, and what a season's going to look like, and I just think I find this whole year really, really fascinating, because I think it can go really well, and they could play for a national title or certainly get to the playoff. But I also think there's a possibility that they could lose to Alabama and start the year 1-2 because they have games against teams that can really play. I mean, if you look at Miami and NC State, I mean, you're in a position where you could very easily start the year as poorly as one could imagine, 1-2.
Well, if the offensive line's bad, I mean, if it's bad, we're talking about how good does it need to be in order for us to play at a certain level and keep Atlantic. If you win the Atlantic, I mean, chances are you're going to win the ACC and go play in the playoff. But if the offensive line is bad, the alternative, in the first 4 games of the year, you're playing 3 really, really, really good defensive lines. And then all of a sudden, where are you? Sure, that's possible too. It's not as likely. We like the recruiting class, so it's not as likely. But if that were the case, oh, buddy, that's a long month, that September.
Obviously, everybody's best case scenario is always going to be that through your first 6 games, you're 6-0. But a more reasonable approach would be to say you're 5-1 or something like that. Worst case scenario, though, is a loss to Alabama, a loss to either Miami or NC State, and a loss to Louisville, and you're 3-3 through 6. And that doesn't sound crazy. What sounds crazier, 3-3 or 6-0?
I don't like that question.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Blountstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford. The place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from LoCash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Bring on the bubbles with these cool prices at RCD Shell.
The following message is brought to you by Health Markets, your first choice when you need health insurance for your small business. Do you offer health insurance to your employees? Call us now and see if you can save money. Do you want to offer vision and dental to your employees? Call us. Do you think you're paying too much for your current health insurance? Call us. Do you want somebody else to do all the legwork and search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide? Call us. We're Health Markets, and thanks to a little-known solution, we could help your business save thousands of dollars on health insurance costs and save your employees money too. Our service is free. Don't miss the great savings. Call now.
800-478-0834. 800-478-0834. 800
800-478-0834. That's 800-478-0834.
Health Markets Insurance Agency is DBA of InSphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., licensed in all states. Product availability varies.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
This morning you skipped breakfast, then you took an algebra test. U minus food equals sad. Hunger plus math equals bad. Divided by no sleep, this equation is getting deep. Here's your answer. When your morning is hell, just go to Taco Bell.
When you've had a morning, let us make you breakfast, like Taco Bell's new breakfast quesadilla. Eggs, bacon, and cheese pressed inside a grilled tortilla. At participating stores during breakfast hours.
If you haven't stopped into Tallahassee's favorite hangout, the Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill on North Monroe Street, you're missing out.
Hey, it's me, Courtney. Hey, it's me, Marissa.
Last but not least, I'm Kim, and we're the girls from the Fourth Quarter.
Okay, girls, there are lots of great nights to stop in at the Fourth Quarter, including Monday, where it's happy hour all day, including 2-for-1 Wells. There's Tuesday night trivia with Professor Jimmy, where you can win money. What other night should we stop by the Fourth Quarter?
It's Kim again. Join me Saturday and Sunday mornings for Bubbles and Brunch from 7 to 2. $18.99, all you can drink mimosas and Bloody Marys, and it includes breakfast.
Hey, Riss here. Come join me for lunch. We have over 20 lunch specials for just $7.50, and that includes a drink. I'm Courtney. Visit me on Monday nights when we have 2-for-1 Wells, calls, and domestic drafts all night.
Don't miss out on the girls of the Fourth Quarter. Pick your favorite night and stop in. Say hi to the girls at 2033 North Monroe Street, the Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill, Tallahassee's favorite hangout.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. You know, it's odd, but we're both able to do it. We're able to both sense when, we're in a studio here that if you can't see it, if you haven't ever looked on the YouTube feed, for example, there are no windows to the outside world. You have just this, soundproof foam in here, and then there's glass so that Tom and I can look at each other, and microphones at a table. That's what you have. And yet every time it's about to storm, it's about to rain from the heavens in a way that looks rather ominous, as it is now, I sense it and you sense it. I knew it. I specifically went out there to look during the break because I thought, man, I think it's going to pour. I've got a sense it's going to be ugly outside. I don't know if there's a dip in the atmospheric pressure that you sense and feel even when you're indoors, but something tells us every time that it's – now, it could just be that we live in Tallahassee, Florida, and any amount of time that you've ever spent in Tallahassee, Florida in the summer means it's going to rain. But, yeah, it's crazy.
It felt particularly bad outside.
It felt gloomy.
It felt like a storm was coming. Storm's coming. But I don't know what it is either. It's just – I'd say the hit rate is probably between 60 and 70%, which is oddly high. That's all.
I think it's more than 80%.
Maybe for you. You might just be a master at it.
It's uncanny. We have a question that I answered in the opening segment of the program in the 3 o'clock hour, but because theoretically the audience changes every 15 minutes, I'll answer the question by repeating myself a little bit, and also it helps us address the subject that occurred while I was away.
You could just listen to the first hour on
demand. Man. That's right, Chad.
We're too good for listeners.
At Jay Cameron Show, @_Tom Lang. Should FSU baseball name Meat as coach in waiting to help with recruiting? So I began the show, first of all, I've been gone for over a week, and I kind of admonished my cohorts here in Tallahassee and others here at the office for, I go away to D.C., I come back, and Florida somehow has won the national championship in baseball. You guys dropped the ball. But having said that, I then noted that, hey, when you have those kinds of arms and you recruit those kinds of arms year in and year out, you don't even have to have your best team out in Omaha, and you can win it. See O'Sullivan's group this year. There's a consistency in those arms that give you a chance. To give you a chance, A, at getting to the College World Series and eventually winning it. Power arms like that, we've been deficient. I talked about how I think Mike Bell's a great pitching coach, and I think that the thing that's hurt us here is in recruiting, but I understand it because I think it's awfully difficult when you have a legend that's a coach who's at the end of his career. Questions are going to come up from recruits about what the future looks like, especially if the athletic department and your athletic director and or the president doesn't name a successor, doesn't tell you what's going to happen on the horizon. Recruits are going to have questions that you can't answer. And so when you go into a room to recruit a kid, a power arm like that Florida seems to have in abundance, and he's got choices. Unfortunately, one of those choices just 2 hours away just won the national championship. Well, their coach is set in stone. They're investing in baseball. You know what the future looks like for Florida. You don't know that with Florida State because Mike Martin is at the end of an illustrious career, a legendary career, and although they came off a great season this year in which they got out to Omaha, by any measure, that's a successful season, the future is a bit cloudy because he's not going to be here beyond, what, a year or two at most. I'm a recruit. I'm not sure where I should go. I don't have an emotional attachment to either university. One's investing in baseball, just came off a national championship, has a history of developing power arms, and one has a legendary coach, and they're coming off a great season, but I don't know what the future holds because I don't know who my coach is going to be because they haven't announced that it's Mike Martin Jr. or anybody else for that matter. Makes it a lot easier to choose Florida or other programs for that matter. They have to do something. I think in order to help Mike Martin Jr., since he's been brought up in this question, he's been a very good recruiter, but his hands are a bit tied. And that's just the case anytime you have a coach at the end of his career. When you don't know how long he's going to be in play, you can't answer that question, and therefore you're at a disadvantage. And I do think Florida State's at a distinct disadvantage in recruiting until they name Mike Martin Jr. as the successor to be the next baseball coach at Florida State, or they don't. I mean, I'm not even engaged right now in the argument about what they ought to do. I'm on record of saying I think they should name Mike Martin Jr. as the next head coach because the things that he controls currently, we're really good in. He has shown himself. This isn't a similar situation as Jeff Bowden. Jeff was not equipped to do the job. Mike has proven himself for 20 years. I think, but even if you remove that larger talking point about what side of the fence you're on, and because people debate this all the time, they have to either name him the coach in waiting or not and tell us whatever their succession plan is. But you can't have the situation that he's in now, which is attempting to recruit against a national champion who happens to be your chief rival with the inability to tell a recruit what the future looks like. Can't do that.
The Bowden thing is really, really annoying
because it's not similar at all.
No, but just imagine this scenario for a moment. You know, the program itself is doing exactly what it did in the latter part of the lost decade, and now you're flirting with sub-500 seasons. And let's just say, for argument's sake, I know it's hard to envision for us football fans of that time, but let's just say that under Jeff Bowden, we were running out a top 15 offense every season. Do you know what the conversations would have been? When clearly the rest of the program, the defensive side of the football, people would say, elevate the young Bowden. Like, they would be calling for that. If we were rolling a top 15 or top 10 offense out on the football field every Saturday during the lost decade, they'd say, well, Jeff's got it down. Let's elevate that dude. You know, it's just, and you want to apply the logic of, you know, him not deserving his job to a guy who's been a top performer at his function, which is to get the offense to produce year in and year out.
Yeah.
That's the hard part for me. It's just, that's not even close to the same thing. And I also think, too, with Mike Martin, with respect to Mike Martin, it's not like he was going and helping out and recruiting anyway. You know, you've got
that's what I mean.
You've got a multifaceted problem. You have the uncertainty of what happens 3 years from now if
then
I'm
you have
a
an
recruit.
aging coach. Yeah. It's not 70-something-year-old men aren't out on the recruiting trail in the same way that younger coaches are. That's why the job itself is so difficult. And it usually is done by youngish guys, younger people. And he's coming off a great season. So this isn't one of those situations where you can say, like Bowden was going 7-6 and losing 30-0 at home to Wake. They saved their season, went on a nice run, won the ACC, and finished in the top 10 in the country with a trip to Omaha. That's a great season. So the scenarios aren't even the same. They're not fading. They just had a great season. But the reality is he's also not a huge help right now. Other than reputation as being a great coach, he's not a huge help in recruiting for Mike Martin Jr., who's on the road doing that recruiting and has to answer these questions of recruits who are trying to decide between a Florida and a Florida State or any other school for that matter. And so you put him in an untenable position, I think. And no matter where you fall in the argument about whether you think he should be the coach or not, that's really not what I'm addressing here. What I'm addressing is the uncertainty and the inactivity. You need the athletic department, or you need, whether, I don't know if it's the president or if it's Stan, whoever it is that's going to be involved in figuring out what the future of Florida State baseball looks like. They need to make an announcement. They need to do, and if they don't make an announcement, they need to arm Mike Martin Jr. and Mike Bell and anybody else associated with the program with the ability to say to recruits exactly what it's going to look like. I guess they don't have to say it publicly, but they need to be able to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And tell him that so that he can tell the recruits that.
Yeah. Do you trust me? Because here's what's going to happen. I'll still be here. You know.
Right. I'm going to be here. We haven't announced it publicly. Right.
Yeah, that would be useful. It's a pivotal time for that program. And the thing is, it looks like they put together another roster next year through recruiting these last couple of seasons that should be able to compete at the highest level of the conference and should be able to flirt with a College World Series bid again next year. But, I mean, if you're talking about, reloading again for the 2019-2020 seasons.
Yeah, it's hard.
You've got to do them. Yeah, you got to do them a solid now, like now.
Well, and I just think when it comes down to those frontline guys, those guys throwing look, Florida's pitching won them the national championship. It has been spectacular for a good while now. I mean, whatever they do, they get good young arms, live arms. They develop them well, and they come in and they're electric. And that's right now not something we're competing with. We've had some good arms here and there. We've had some guys that you would look at and say, okay, they'd fit in that rotation at Florida, but not enough of them. And not enough power arms for Florida State right now.
We've had some good pitchers, but yeah.
Well, and they got hurt too. They got unlucky that Kobe got hurt, and because he has electric stuff, and he got hurt, and that didn't help. But
Sands can hit the lower 90s. But again, I said this in the first hour. You know, there's a trickle down. Relievers now, most any bullpen except for the one for the Mets, you can throw 97 to 100. There's one or two guys out there, and now in college, all of a sudden,
you're starting to see it. Yeah,
Super Regionals or College World Series play.
Kid comes in for LSU. I'm like, who the hell is that kid?
95 isn't crazy to see anymore. You know,
No.
and we just don't have but maybe one or two of those guys on the roster, it seems, every year.
Well, so, obviously, in order to help that situation out, you better find some certainty real quick and announce what the succession plan looks like, whether that's Mike Martin Jr. or you're going a different direction, one way or the other. They got to find some certainty there. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin, Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
These common issues. Visit engagedacademics.org for more information. That's engagedacademics.org.
It's back. The 14th annual Kingfish Shootout held in Carabel, Florida. August 5th and 6th is almost here. Entry fees are $300 per boat, and donations of $1,000 or more will receive one free boat entry. Fishing hours are Saturday 7 to 7 and Sunday 7 to 4. All boats must check in at the check-in station by 7 p.m. on Saturday and 4 p.m. on Sunday. Boats can be in the water but can't pass the checkout point until 6 a.m. both days. There will be a captain's meeting at Sea Quarters Marina Friday, August 4th at 6 p.m. Mandatory one person per boat must be present for rules. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Highway 98, Carabel, 850-697-8400.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Don't let Tallahassee's hot summers get you down. Barano Heating and Air Conditioning can help in case of a breakdown, day or night. Their certified technicians can get you up and running in no time. Turn to the experts at Carrier and at Barano Heating and Air. Call 580-4029 or visit baranoac.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan in Tallahassee. Thank you for last month and getting us to our quarterly sales objective. But just when you thought it was over, Nissan Corporate has come back to say we're carrying all incentives over again through July 17th. These incentives are crazy big. $3,000 off MSRP on all, not one or some, but all Versa sedans and Notes, Sentras and Frontiers. $4,000 off on all Rogues. $5,000 off MSRP on all Muranos. $6,000 off all Altimas, from the S model to the SL model, all. And $7,000 off MSRP on all Maximas. Seriously, at Kraft Nissan, we have people that come in looking for a used vehicle and switch to a new Nissan for less money per month because of the huge discounts and 0% interest for 72 months. At Kraft Nissan, we're not kidding. You owe it to yourself to just come in and try us on. I promise you, you won't be disappointed, and you will go home in a new Nissan at an unbelievable price and a low payment. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. We have over 400 new Nissans in stock.
When it comes to live gaming excitement, Creek Entertainment Gretna is your hometown headquarters. With live poker and simulcast race betting, you've got more winning opportunities right here close to home. Plus, we now offer 3-card poker and Pai Gow in our card room. Satisfy big appetites at Stables, featuring hot and cold sandwiches, salads, and weekend specials. There's always something exciting going on at Creek Entertainment Gretna. I-10, exit 174, Gretna, Florida.
Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's way too early to worry about decommitments, but when it's the brother of former Florida State running back Dalvin Cook, it does raise an eyebrow. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, Florida State lost out on James Cook on Tuesday afternoon. The younger brother of Florida State's all-time leading rusher announced his decommitment via Twitter. Florida State redshirt senior Alex Powers was named the 2017 ACC Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year and also headlines the All-ACC academic team. A lot of moving and shaking in the NBA free agency in overload. Gordon Hayward leaves Utah, takes his talents to the Celtics for $30+ million a year. And today, the LA Clippers have acquired Denver Nuggets free agent Danilo Gallinari, a 3-year, $65 million deal. And also, the Miami Heat have parted ways with Chris Bosh, but Pat Riley says they will retire the number 1, and no one will ever be able to wear it again in Heat history.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio, wrapping it up momentarily. By the way, I should also note, my friend, that tonight, I think, well, I don't want to jinx it, I guess. I was gonna talk about Beyond the Tips on Sirius XM PGA Tour Radio, 9 o'clock tonight. Of course, me and my good friend Trey Jones, who's the head coach at Florida State, will be doing that show tonight.
Good news just keeps pouring on in for Trey Jones.
I was just about to say that. I mean, it's crazy what's going on right now with Florida State golf, and it's exciting because Trey is such a hard worker and has done great stuff. But I can't. I mean, he gets so excited for kids. I've seen it. I can speak to it. He roots for those kids to do so well, and he's invested so much time to see all these guys having success. And I'm not just talking about Brooks winning the U.S. Open, but the amateur thing, Harry won that, right?
Yeah, Harry Ellis won out in Britain, so he can play the Open. He can play the Masters. I mean, unbelievable experiences. Jack McGuire won his sectional to play in the U.S. Open, made the cut. Daniel Berger won the St. Jude, went to a playoff with Jordan Spieth while we were gone, who got luckier than anybody I've seen in a long, long time. Should have put 3 balls in the water during the course of his 18 holes.
And then ends up chipping in.
Yes, because after hitting the tree that's right in front, that tree on the course,
it's still
like
pissing
that
you
tree.
off. I think it's bothering you.
It does,
yeah.
Because everybody knows that tree, the one that's placed in front of the tee box. Say, well, nobody hits that tree. He hit that tree. It bounces right in the middle of the fairway, and then he shorts his 5-iron by 15 yards into the green, and then punches in for birdie out of the bunker. Nice.
Well, an undeserved win, but nonetheless, Berger was right there to take advantage had he not sandied that thing.
Yeah. And Berger played well down the stretch to earn that playoff. Absolutely.
But it is exciting for Harry Ellis, and it was cool. He's 21 years old. Good for him, man. Good for him. And the story there is a dramatic one. His mom passed, and he's had to fight through that, the emotions and the sadness beyond that. And you can obviously root for people who deal with adversity and handle things that emotionally very difficult. But to know somebody who's been there for every step of the way in that situation, here the way Trey talks with great fondness about him, it just makes you all the happier just to know how that's worked out. So anyhow, I think Harry's going to join us tonight on the show is what I was trying to get to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. If not this one, it'll be a week from now, and I'll pimp it again. But we'll see. Let's do probables. Fire away.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
I was thinking, since it is the dead of summer and we add to our music for the probable segment at the end, we could find a Peebo Bryson or some other crappy artist, one of those silly summer songs that were very popular in the 70s. Ambrose or something like that.
Yeah.
Ambrosia, I think it was.
I'm in.
Yeah, we'll do it.
That sounds good.
All right, good. Mets, Nats, Jacob deGrom. You didn't even watch? It is deGrom. You might watch, right?
Yeah, first couple innings, see how it goes.
Well, they are facing Tanner Roark, who has been getting, you know what.
Oh, yeah,
this is a good match.
Hernandez.
Yeah, this is a good matchup for you, Tom.
Roark's
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Pirates, Phillies, Garrett Cole, the fake ace of the Pittsburgh Pirates, will go against Ben Lively for the Phillies. I don't know who the hell that is. Orioles, Brewers, Aquino versus Garza, Padres, Indians, Luis Perdomo. Trevor Bauer going for the Indians. Giants, Tigers, Ty Blatch, Daniel Norris. Stros, Braves. Musgrove, Garcia. Red Sox, Rangers, Cashner and Pfister. Angels, Twins. Bridwell, Santana. We got Marlins, Cardinals, Edison Volquez, Mike Leake. Reds, Rockies, Feldman and Gray. D-backs, Dodgers. Godley, Wood. Royals, Mariners. Jason Vargas got 12 wins on the year, folks.
It's a hell of a slate tonight.
Jason Vargas doing some things for the Royals. We're playing well all of a sudden. Ariel Miranda goes for the Mariners. That's a look at those that shall reside on the bump.
And the winner wins.
I didn't even get to my crocodile story or the guy that shot himself in the penis.
Oh,
but
the Florida man. Yeah. I read about that.
Maybe tomorrow, kids. Good work out of you. Great work, Matthew. Thanks for listening, everybody. Be well. It's been good to be back. Talk to you again tomorrow. Take care.